I'll call the Carroll County Commissioners meeting for March 19th to order. Public input, first on the agenda. Seeing none,
We've got lucky 2 weeks in a row.
it's not luck.
I have one.
Oh,
Will
good.
Commissioner Kenney be joining us today?
Excuse me,
Will Commissioner Kenney be joining us today? Is she here?
is she here today?
All we know is I testified on the clerk's bill down in Concord this morning, and she was 15 minutes early. And this is the weekly meeting, and these are the ones she's usually a little tardy on.
Okay, I just wonder if she had called in or something.
As far as I know, she hasn't called in.
Okay.
And as far as I know, she said she would be here by email.
There we go.
March 12th minutes.
She comes now.
Commissioner? You have the March 12th minutes?
Oh, I don't, David, I'm sorry. I've read them though.
Our recording secretary won't be here this morning,
Oh,
this afternoon, I should say. She will take the minutes off the filming of this meeting. I would suggest perhaps that two other commissioners might make notes to make sure that it's covered, everything is covered.
I read those, David, when they came this weekend.
Do you have any corrections?
Well, I don't know, can we table them for a short time and we'll get the one
All right.
downstairs and I'll take a look?
Okay, 1:15, we're supposed to have a call.
Can we talk about that for a second?
Sure.
This call from Steve Fisher at Spyglass, he sent us not a proposal, but what he had done with Fairpoint. And frankly, I couldn't understand it, and that's why I asked him to call and try to explain it to us. I don't have that note in front of me. I've looked everywhere for it. Once I put it in last week's notes by mistake, I can't find it on my desk, and so we'll just have to talk to him about what he's doing with the Fairpoint, talking to Fairpoint about,
Reducing the cost?
yeah,
Okay.
and I apologize.
You'll be thinking of what to ask him when he does call. I don't understand this correspondence, but it came from the town of Lincoln Planning Board. Apparently, somebody is going to be putting up a 100-foot monopole within a 40 by 40 fenced-in compound located in southwest of Governor's Lodge at Loon Mountain Ski Resort. It will host 12 panel antennas with a centerline height of 97 feet. This is just to alert us that it will be coming before the planning board. It doesn't say anything in here about whether we agree or disagree. But it does happen to fall in Coos County, the northern portions of Grafton County and Carroll County. So I guess it's to provide some guidelines, to provide a list of questions for land use boards asked to help the boards to determine whether the proposed project is a development of regional impact.
That was a new law that was signed a couple of years ago, and it had to do with abutting towns,
Okay.
and I'd forgotten that it was counties, but I guess it is. But that's so that we or they or anybody has input if there's a problem with a installation in another town.
Okay. There's 6 areas that they're looking at: is economic structure, infrastructure capacity, settlement patterns or regionally significant features, natural resources, quality of life, emissions, directly abuts a municipal boundary. So, I don't have any comment to make on it, other than that they are informing us that this will take place. It was dated March 14th. Okay. While we're waiting, if we could, I'll report, and it's not on the list, but I had it listed under the work sessions, but if we are waiting and we got time, I'd like to do it now. This is regards to Hale's location and the school tuition from the Conway School District. I have the bill here, and what they are doing, the tuition for Kennett Middle School. There are 3 children that would be attending the middle school. Each one would be $49,887. Now, there are 2 of those that go to Florida part of the year. So there's $34,643.75.
Dave, excuse me, what was that? 34?
$34,643.75.
That kind of money, I'm not gonna worry about the 75 cents thing.
All right, so that's 2.
One student?
2 at that price. They're twins, I believe. That's for 125 days at $161.13 per day. You can see this if you want a copy of it.
Thank you.
Tuition for Kennett High School is $32,912, and there are 2 students. One's in the 10th grade and one's in the 11th grade, for a total bill of $184,998.50. Now, I met with the president of the Hales Location Association yesterday morning, with another representative from Hales Location, I don't recall his name. And what I suggest was that I would bring this to the attention of the board as the selectman for Hales Location. I have also some documents here as to the current year. For each of the ascending towns, which is Eaton, Albany, Freedom, and Madison. And I think what they've done is they've used the highest cost per student. For example, the town of Eaton, in middle school, it's $49,887. Elementary school for the town of Eaton, they have 9.5, I don't know how they get that, but students attending, it's $30,070. For the high school, the highest is Jackson, $32,912. For the town of Eaton, because they have 8.54, it's $17,600 cost per student. And that's for the current year, 2013 and 14. Do you have any questions?
Dave?
The information is right here. Yep.
Maybe I heard you incorrectly, but I think you took the total down here and gave it as 184 for these 2 students. It's $32,912 for each Kennett student, not 189 for the 2.
Oh, I'm sorry if I
Which
said
think-
that.
I
The
think
total
that,
bill
for all of
for
them.
5 students to go
Right.
to Conway School District is $184,998.50. And I have the contracts for K through 6, 7 through 8, and also well, I don't have the one at the high school with me, but yes, I do, 9 through 12. They have been in contact with an attorney, with the Attorney General's office, who represents, or his or her, is responsible for meeting or talking with the Educational Department in Concord. He seems to feel that it's unrealistic. Whether they can do something about it, they didn't know. I also have figures here from cost per high school student for Hooksett High School.
Going to Manchester.
One is Central School in Manchester, $9,716 per student. For West, it's $9,716, same thing. Pinkerton Academy, $10,731. And that's what is going on down there. And I have figures here for pretty much all of the schools in New Hampshire.
Cost per student or tuition?
Tuition. This is dated February 12th. This is a year old, 2 years old now. February 12th, 2012. At that time, high school, what it costs a student in Conway, $12,816. So these are all documents that was given to me yesterday morning. And I guess they're concerned and don't understand that certain amount of dollars be offset in part by payments from the sending towns, which we would be included in that, to be added to expendable trust fund, New Kennett High School Facility Maintenance Fund. This is something that was on the Article 2 on the warrant, which is scheduled for, the 8th of April in Conway? I don't know what the deliberative session did with those articles, but there are copies here for that. And this is available for anybody that wants to look at them. It's confusing as to how to get out of the contract. Attempt to read it, but if the commissioners want to look at it, it's down in this area right there. To me, it sounds like after you give them written notice, you have to give them 3 years before you can get out of the contract. I could be wrong on that. Commissioner Kenney is what I'm talking about, so that you know what's going on. I don't understand that language right there.
Doesn't appear there's a penalty for getting out,
No, but
unless there's another item somewhere.
now that contract was signed in 2007. The date on the front? I think it was 2007,
208.
208? Yeah, 208, right. So if they're talking about the 3 years,
And approved by the Department of Education and the 24th day of the same year.
by Lionel B. Tracy, Commissioner of Education. Let me read that, just for the general public. In such case, either party may terminate this agreement by giving to the other the written notice of termination required by this paragraph. Such notice shall specify the last school year for which the agreement shall be effective, which shall be at least the third full fiscal school year ending June 30th, following the school year during which the notice is given. I'm
So we're
sorry.
giving them a 3-year out and working on the fiscal year so the budget doesn't get, they're not trying to figure out halfway through the year or a quarter through the year when the year is up.
So what's it mean by which shall be at least the third full fiscal school year?
So if they're gonna end it June 30th, 2014, and the fiscal year is December 31st, and the 3 years would start January the 15th,
2015?
2015, and would not become effective until, as I read it, until January 1st, 2018. Well, they're giving them 3 years, which makes sense because they may have to lower the number of teachers. They may need other things to get rid of.
So what they're basically saying is we can't get out of the contract until 3 years from now.
Well, whenever the fiscal years are for the school department. I read it as the school department's fiscal year.
June 30th.
Are you sure that's what it is?
Well, full fiscal school year ending June 30th.
Well, their fiscal year in the school district might be January 1st to December 31st.
Okay. So, basically, you said what I thought was true.
So, yeah, it's a minimum of 3 years, and it looks to me like it could go almost to 4. Depending on when the fiscal years are up, which I don't know. And as I read it, that means these students will go to go to Conway for at least 3 years more.
Mhm.
And David, could I have the list of the students? I mean, certainly if some, it's in front of Commissioner Kenney.
We only have 2 students in the high school. One will be going into the 12th grade. And the association feels that that student, should the contract be able to be broken now, they felt that that student ought to stay at Kennett because they're in their last year.
And the other one,
The other one is-
will be out before the contract is up, before you can legally get out of the
Yeah.
contract.
Yeah.
How about the other 2? Will they be in high school at that time? Grade 8, 3 years will be in grade 11, so you get
Yeah.
the same situation.
Yeah.
Grade 7, they'll be in the 10th grade, you know, maybe they won't wanna leave.
Okay, well, you have the information, and we submitted the proposed budget for Hales location to the county delegation on Monday, and they will take action on it next Monday, on the 24th. They have to approve the budget as we have approved it, either approve it or disapprove it. And the only difference basically is the 5-student tuition, from 131,465 to 186,178. So, okay. Are we supposed to call Spyglass, or are they gonna call here?
He's on the phone right now.
They're gonna call here?
He's on the phone right now.
Oh, they're on the phone? Okay.
Go ahead.
Have you
Mr.
figured out how to,
Go ahead, Mr. Techie, see how you can do.
how you can get on this phone for the
I think.
public?
Hello, is this Steve from Spyglass?
Yes, it is.
Okay, you are on speakerphone with the commissioners of Carroll County
And the public.
and the public.
Very good. Well, I appreciate the transfer. Thank you.
We'll be billing you for any advertising that you do here on camera, because it goes worldwide.
That's a
It's
joke.
also
So I
live streamed.
understand that
Huh?
there are some questions relating to the agreement from Fairpoint, so hopefully today I can help out and answer any of those and keep the momentum going and implementing the savings. So maybe if I can open up the table to you, Commissioner Babson, to lead things off, and we'll see where we go.
Steve, I got to admit, I looked all over for your Fairpoint proposal that you sent us, and I cannot find it. So if you would start off, I did read it, and I can perfectly honestly, I didn't understand it, and that's why I called you and asked you if you'd be kind enough to come on today and tell us what you're doing.
Very good. I'll give you just a quick 30-second commercial of my background at Spyglass and what we've done for the county. The Spyglass Group is an independent cost auditing firm that doesn't have any affiliations with any phone carriers. We're just coming in to do a financial audit of the telecommunication services for the county. And in doing our research, we identified that there were some issues with the Fairpoint long distance agreement. And the county currently maintains for all departments and all facilities accounts for services for long distance with Fairpoint. And what we found was there was an old contract that had been agreed upon years ago for a spending commitment that was a $500 commitment on a monthly basis that for whatever reason was not being attained. So the phone company was charging a penalty on a monthly basis for that issue. Above and beyond that, for whatever reason in the sheriff's department, the rates were not billing appropriately on a monthly and a per minute basis. So what we had done was go back to Fairpoint to correct those issues. And the decision was made would be to reduce the amount of the monthly spending from $500 to $95. That would eliminate all of the per monthly penalties, but then also go back to the phone company and get a historic credit back from them for the problem that's been hanging around for the last few years. So what I had emailed to Commissioner Babson was the document that would put those measures into place. So it was a 2-page agreement, and it's the same agreement that was signed years past. It's just reducing the commitment from $500 down to the $95 on a monthly basis.
And how far along are you? Did they agree to that?
They did. So at this point, the only thing that's left to move forward with would be to sign that agreement. We don't carry the authority to sign on your behalf. So if you folks obviously agree to do that, we need to have that contract document signed. Then we would process that with Fairpoint and put the savings into place. That's the last piece.
And the contract is that piece that you sent me that you have to be a telephone geek to figure out what it's all about?
Well, it's ultimately whenever an entity has a phone service with a phone provider, they will enter into an agreement that will explain the terms of which both parties are agreeing to. So the first page ultimately describes what services the county would be agreeing to, or what would be being provided to them. Like I mentioned before, since you already have all of your accounts with Fairpoint today, that won't change. That's going to stay constant and remain the same. The only thing that would be changing would be the commitment that the county is going to be agreeing to, and that is the $95, where the previous agreement was a $500 commitment.
And what'd you say about the sheriff's department? Are there going to be some funding returned to us from the sheriff's department?
That's what we're fighting for, yes. There are interesting things that can happen where the phones are concerned, as is anything. For whatever reason, the sheriff's department has a different means of communication with the outside world, and without going too far down a path, they have what's called a T1 circuit. So it's a little bit different than the other departments. Well, for whatever reason, and we don't know why, it is what it is, the sheriff's department is being billed upwards of 25 cents and 40 cents for every that's part of the reason why we want to correct it. So what we are requesting the phone company to do is to go back historically in time, and for all of the amount of calls that the sheriff's department has made over the last few years, to re-rate that at the correct price, the correct permanent rate, and then provide a credit back for that discrepancy.
Excuse me, Steve, you said, which is what we discovered, 40 cents and 25 cents, and you said it should have been 3 cents and what?
Please bear with me here. I've got it.
Or 3 cents for both?
Yeah, 3 cents for both. We're talking about fractions of pennies. I think it's .031. So they'll put that in the calculation, and we'll obviously review it. But there could be a substantial amount of funds coming back in that we have to correct the problem first. That's the contract we're talking about having signed and put into play, and then go back historically to collect the funds that we feel are owed to the county.
I have a bunch of questions.
Certainly.
First of all, in your opinion, how did we get off track from 3 cents to 40 and 25?
Well, I don't know what necessarily happened in this particular instance. It was years prior to us doing the analysis, but what I can explain to the group is that the phone company has billing systems, as I refer to them as. There's the ability for them to put discounts and put different contract terms to each particular different account. What I can assume may have happened was the sheriff's department at some point, and maybe they didn't, we don't know, something triggered it to fall out of the agreement. And it could have been a change of service, it could have been a fat finger, a mistake by somebody at the phone company. We just don't know that. But generally speaking, when you have an issue like this, it's because there's somebody on the phone company side made an error when trying to put in any type of discount structure that was only unique to the sheriff. It wasn't anything the sheriff's department did or didn't do. It was more the phone company's issue.
Stephen,
Yeah.
going on with that, you don't know how far back this contract the contract that we're currently under, or the previous one, you don't know who signed it?
I don't.
Or what
I
year?
assume we could try and get a copy of that agreement and determine. But it was put into play in 2010 initially.
Okay, well, that's good enough for us.
Expired.
2010, and how long was the contract?
It was a three-year commitment.
Okay.
And they're willing to go back to 2010 for a credit?
That's our request. Every situation is different. It all depends on the carrier. Some carriers have clauses that are put into the fine print, and sometimes they're not even in the fine print, that say if an entity pays its bill on a monthly basis, they're agreeing that the charges are correct. Now, whether we agree with that or not, that's the clauses that phone companies will do to put in to protect themselves. That being said, there are statute of limitations, and depending upon what the dollar amount, typically the statute of limitation on a credit is three calendar years. So some carriers...
Excuse me, Stephen. Calendar year from January...
In the interest of doing the right thing and keeping a happy relationship will give more than 3 years. Some won't. It's just a matter of the dollar amount and what's involved.
Stephen, excuse me, 3 years from calendar year from the date of where they've overcharged you, or 3 calendar years from January 1st?
It would be 3 calendar years from the date the issue was corrected.
Okay.
So right now, the problem is still in place. We have to correct it first, because once that happens, then they can go back historically.
Okay.
Okay.
Was this contract, if it was signed in 2010, it was 3 years, it should have been up in 2013. I don't recall renewing it.
And that's the information we're getting back from Fairpoint is that there's no obligation there. The contract has since expired.
It doesn't automatically continue? Is there a clause in the contract?
Who would want it to at those prices?
Oh, I know it.
Well, from what I understand, and this is information that I'm working on with the representatives at Fairpoint, there was a clause that allowed it to not, it allowed it to keep the terms of the original agreement, and you were billed on a month-to-month basis. Some contracts will regroup or renew, for the original term, which is good in this case because it didn't re-up for another 3 calendar years at the higher commitment. It's a month-to-month basis, and the phone company is allowing us to be able to make the change now to reduce the amount of revenue that the county is committing to because you don't have the volume to meet the $500 amount.
So are we going to the 3 cents a minute, beginning when?
The 3 cents a minute would be implemented upon signature of the document that I had sent, and I can send it to you again. Once that gets signed, let me walk you through the process. So I would send that document to the representatives at Fairpoint. They would then they would issue orders against all of the accounts that would be included, which would be all the county existing relationships. And then they would, in their billing system, they would mark it at the terms of the new agreement and then implement the 3 cents. And then that order would complete. And then once that happens, then you would have the savings. Now, we understand that, as I mentioned before, there's some human element that goes into the billing system piece. So we would want to then pull copies of all the new rounds of bills once the phone company confirms that, yes, the orders have completed, to make certain that the rates were implemented correctly.
So how long should that take?
Typically, that takes, I don't want to belittle the process. The order piece can take 3 to 5 days. Then we're at the mercy of the phone company to generate a new bill. That could take a month. Now, depending upon when the order completes and when the bills actually are created, we might have to wait, depending upon how the chips fall, the timing could be a month and a half. It just depends. But the order process is very quick.
Okay, so the only agreement that you have right now is changing the current $500 to $95. But you don't have any agreement with the sheriff's department.
All of the accounts are currently linked together, so that the current $500 commitment is supposed to be tied to all the accounts.
Okay.
And for the most part it is. But for some reason, the sheriff's department is not correctly linked. And that's part of the reason why I suspect that there's a problem with those folks. So what we would be doing then would be taking that $500 amount, reducing it to $9,500 across all
Is that per month?
county departments. There would be no change from an actual technology standpoint. The users wouldn't have they wouldn't be aware of any changes. It would just be a financial change, and then the rates would be reduced. The savings would be implemented, and then we could finalize the credit portion.
Stephen, did you just misspeak or did I misunderstand you? You said $500 and then you said $9,500. Did you mean $9,500 down to $95?
$500 down to $95.
And that's monthly?
Well, that's monthly correct. That's the commitment level that you'd be reducing.
Wow.
Okay. And with that $95, do we now still have a commitment of how many minutes we use, or whatever it was, we were getting charged 20, 21, 22 bucks for not spending the money?
Great question. The only commitment that you would have would be the $95. And based upon the historic usage that you, as an entity, maintains, you'll certainly be able to meet that commitment and exceed it very, very easily. And then what happens is, by reducing the commitment, all of those $20 penalty charges that you just referenced, those go away, because you're no longer being held to the $500 commitment that you're not attaining.
So for the $95 that we were hoping to go to, we're still going to pay 3 cents a minute for the phone service. What does the $95 do? Get us the opportunity to hang up now and then, or what are we paying for?
It gives you the opportunity to lock in at that 3-cent rate.
Oh, okay. That's in lieu of having nothing, having no fee. Well, we were paying $500 to lock in at 40 cents.
Well,
That's a special deal.
that's the problem. It's the rate at the $500 amount was in the 3 to 4 cent range. It was just implemented incorrectly on one department, the sheriff's department, and that's why there's a 40-cent rate there.
So we weren't paying 40 cents across the board for our Fairpoint service. It was just the sheriff's department.
That's correct.
Okay.
And once again, I want to make clear is that that's just a coincidence. It could have been any department. It's just, for whatever reason, it was the sheriff's department. It could have been any other, for that matter.
Well, we like the sheriff's department too, so it doesn't really make a difference.
I'm not sure I got the answer to my question. How far back are we gonna be able to get credit for? That's still being negotiated?
3 years, I thought.
Well, we're relying on Fairpoint right now. Yes, you're correct. That we're waiting for them to go back historically and pull all the bills. And some part of that is a manual process. And once we know what that amount is, then Spyglass will take a look at that, the amount that they're offering, and tie those numbers out to make certain that we're maximizing on the amount of credit that we feel is owed.
Okay, thank you. Got anything else?
I got my list of questions. It looks like they've all been answered. I think you've answered all our questions, Steve. Thank you very much.
Anybody?
No problem. I hope that that made sense. I know sometimes working with the phone carriers can be confusing, and if anybody has any questions, please feel free to dial my number directly. I can share. I believe, Commissioner Babson, you have my cell phone and my office line.
Yes, I do.
I want to make certain that everybody doesn't have questions, but it's we've gotten it to the point now where the last piece is just to sign the agreement, and that's going to be the springboard into netting the savings and hopefully maximizing on a fairly substantial credit.
Steve, I think Chairman Sorensen was going to ask the public if any of those people had questions.
That was. Anybody got any questions? I guess the public doesn't have any.
And we just had 2 lawyers come in and nobody said a word, so I guess you're off the hook.
Well, that makes me feel good.
We thank you for
Thank you very much.
your input,
Thank you.
answering our questions.
Very good. Well, Commissioner Babson, I will be in touch with you. I will resend the document just so your office has it, and I'll follow up in the next couple of days unless I see it come through in the meantime.
Okay, why don't you send it 2 days in a row, so when I lose the first one, we'll get the second one.
Very good. I can do that.
Okay, thanks.
Have a good afternoon, folks.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
That sounds pretty good.
Okay, following up on that, I'd like to thank Commissioner Babson for looking into this. He was the one that discovered the 40 cents and the 25 cents in the Sheriff's Department. Anyway, he was the one that found all this information out, and through Spyglass, hopefully we're able to save considerably in the future on telephone expenses. Okay?
Hang up.
Shut that off, I guess. Robin?
We didn't pay,
Make a call. Please hang up and try again.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Just wanted to introduce you to Michaela Andruzzi, Assistant County Attorney from Utah.
From Utah?
Yep, I think I've been in and explained and gone over her resume and stuff with you earlier.
Mhm.
But she started Monday. We've been traveling around and going to court and meeting some of the police departments yesterday and today, and things are looking good.
came on an active weekend anyway.
Yeah,
Well,
right?
yes, that's what I heard.
Yep.
You have relatives or somebody here in New England area?
I went to high school in New England.
You
and
went
I
to high
always-
school?
Yeah, I did, in Norwell, Massachusetts,
Oh,
so
okay.
just south of Boston,
That
and
was the
I've
home of
been,
Paul Benziquit.
yeah,
the
really?
The radio talk host that
All right.
ran the airwaves in Boston for years.
That's quite the tie you have on, Commissioner Babson.
Well,
I must say,
it was on the top of the pile.
spectacular.
So you, a little bit about your background as far as a prosecutor? Have you been in defense or prosecution, or?
I've been in both.
Oh.
I spent 15 years as a prosecutor, and then I switched over, and I have spent the last 2 years as a defense attorney, and really wanted to get back into prosecution. So I was really pleased when I got to get back into prosecution and in New England, so.
Okay. And where did you get your degree?
From the University of Utah. So I've been
Utah,
out there for
okay.
20 years.
Okay. You don't look that old to have 15 years' experience.
Trust me.
David, we're not supposed to ask those
very
questions.
kind.
I didn't ask how old she was. I said she
Very
didn't look
kind.
that old. I didn't ask how old she was.
Trust me, I
They have
know.
15, 17 years, actually.
17 years.
Experience.
Special Victims Unit, homicides,
Homicides.
sexual assaults, so. we're
Were you in
fortunate.
Salt Lake City?
I prosecuted in Salt Lake for the county, so the district attorney's office there, and but I lived in Park City, Utah, which is a little bit prettier.
Ski.
Park City, yeah, yeah.
So I ski. People say, "Oh, good, we have skiing here," and I always say, "Well, no, not
Not
really.
really.
It's not the same skiing." So,
Okay.
but I'm excited to be here. It's a beautiful, beautiful area, and so.
Well, you're coming into a time of the year when it's cold. We don't have it this cold for this long. I guess we had it maybe several years ago, before my time, but it's been a cold winter.
It is cold.
Plus, we had a lot of snow besides, and ice, so. And it's not over yet. I guess we're gonna get some more tonight.
Yep.
Are we
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Oh,
So you found a place and you're getting
I'm
settled in?
renting now. I'm trying to buy. I found a house that I want to buy, so
Okay.
we're trying to get through that whole process. and
Good, good.
I'm
Well,
excited.
good luck.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Good luck, and
Thank
thank
you. It
you
was
for
lovely
bringing
meeting
her
you
in
all.
to
Yep, well, she'll be
introduce her.
sworn in the Supreme Court on April 8th.
April 8th.
Okay.
Well, that's right, there was some question about
Right, we
the
were,
bar.
she really hopped too to get that whole thing completed, because she was able to waive in as opposed to taking the bar exam.
So I think it would have been easier to just take the bar exam,
Right.
frankly. Had I known, I would have just
Really?
said, I'll take the exam.
Right, so it's been a process, but she received a letter from the Supreme Court saying you're in, you just
Oh.
need to be sworn in, so we're good.
Just a swearing in?
Just the swearing
Well,
in.
congratulations.
Thank
Welcome to
you.
Carroll County,
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
and good luck
Thanks.
in your job.
Good,
Thank you.
All right.
thank
Thank
you,
you.
thank you.
Okay. Howie, I guess you're on the agenda next.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
I have a couple things for you. Let me get you the paperwork side of things first. I didn't want to, I know it has to be listed as for budget because I know the subcommittee and the delegation have been asking me to do different things, and I didn't want you all to be the last to know what it is. So there are some, I wanted to see the figures that Representative Allgreen asked me to prepare, and these are as of last night. Now, I'm not sure that he might want different figures coming up, but this is as they set, there's actually two separate sets of figures, so I'm not exactly sure what he's planning on presenting. But these are the two sets of figures he's asked me to put together. Essentially, what they are, on those second and third sheets, are different revenue projections. He's not recommending any changes in expenditures that have been approved by the commissioners, but he is looking for changes in revenue. Nothing completely out of the ordinary.
Well,
Yeah.
he's looking for revenue increases by increasing the daily rate for not only current residents, but for any new residents?
Well, for new residents, but that's actually not reflected here.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
There's no change in revenue assumptions based on that for 2014. All that, he did have me present a multi-year proposal, but strategically, I didn't want any of that to start till 2015. While we could start it earlier, it's not represented in the forecast.
Okay, good.
Howie, why in the budget? Oh, I see what it is. It's the, between the 14, actual 14 and, budget 14 and actual 13, the revenues are down 198,000. That's what it is. Right there.
And the reason why our, expenses could be under, our expenses are, the expenses that are under are our variable expenses. And the way I explained it to the supervisors yesterday, maybe the best example is in terms of food. With the more you sell, the more raw food you have to buy. The less you sell, the less raw food. So it isn't really, it's a matter of expenses and income, it's really more a matter of margin. And we need to protect the margin. So last year, we were under in expenses, but that's because our revenue was correspondingly down as well. So our fixed costs were right on relative to budget, but our variable expenses moved with the underlying revenues. And for us, that's all tied to Medicare bids. The more Medicare days we have, the higher expense we have, the higher revenue we have, but also, given that we have about essentially a 19% profit margin on Medicare, the more we spend on Medicare, the more of that 19%, more of those 19% we get to keep.
So that's where you're gonna make up the 800,000?
I don't, well, it's, actually, if you look at the last page,
Yeah.
it's actually the budgeted 2014 income at 10,000,008 is
Right.
actually less than what we had for actual this year.
Oh, yeah.
So that's
We're going
not so bad.
We're going the wrong way.
And then on the first sheet, it's actually increased only by $110,000. It's actually he's actually, to his credit, looking for just a 1% increase in revenue over our last year's actual. Is that assured or guaranteed? It's optimistic, but it is not unrealistic. It's nothing that we felt comfortable presenting to commissioners because we didn't want to put anything before you, in front of you, that we didn't have reasonable assurance that we could meet. But there are so many things with state reimbursements that we don't control. And after meeting with the other administrators who are budgeting at 80%, 20% less, for the commissioner's proposal, we didn't feel comfortable going with such a high number. Having said that, it's not unreasonable. It's optimistic, but it's not unreasonable. Now, which one of these he'll actually be going with, I don't know. That was unclear as of last night. If there's a concern relative to the budget that I know that we've spoken about before, is that the budget makes no provision for any collective bargaining agreement changes. And so that's, for union, and I think that's a general issue, not just with a nursing home.
Well, I was gonna ask you that, page 1,
Yeah.
page 1-1, the real one, the first one.
Yeah,
We show budget 14, budget 13, 0 increase. that does not include the union contract.
It does not. We've made.
But it does include the 40 cents for non-union, is that
Correct.
correct?
Because that's actually in place. But as directed, we included nothing, nor should it be. In other situations, in other counties where the contract period overlaps the budgeting period, there's usually essentially a contingency fund, a general contingency fund for, let's in this case, the entire county that isn't distributed among the departments. So essentially keep it secret, to keep it confidential so that it doesn't interfere with the negotiating process.
Do you know when the union is meeting to vote?
They're
Today
meeting
it
at
said on the front.
7 o'clock this morning, 2 o'clock this afternoon, and 3 o'clock today.
Say that
Oh,
again?
they meet, well, Deanna meets with three for
Oh,
each
three
shift.
different shifts.
Each shift, so the union voting is today.
Okay. 3 o'clock.
David, I'd like to ask Howie a question.
Go ahead.
If
I'm
the
sorry.
question is inappropriate, would you please shut
Go
me
ahead.
off? Howie, I got the distinctive feeling from the delegation that they weren't pleased with the fact that we had offered 40 cents. If we go back and change that, what kind of havoc is it gonna reap?
A lot.
A lot. It's because then because it's been.
Renegotiations.
Well, especially at this point, what was kept private at the negotiation meeting is now on a ballot in front of the entire
I
staff.
understand, yeah.
So it's no longer confidential or secret. So the entire staff know that the negotiations came to a recommendation of a 40-cent increase. So to change that, now, of course, the other thing that I heard from the delegation very clearly too is it isn't their role to decide how much you award or how you do it. It's their job to fund the overall budget. And of course, that puts you right between a rock and a hard place, because you're making your recommendation to them based on a known amount. So, what is wonderful about how we do raises here, which is not at all typical in other places, is that we're talking not a 2% or 3% raise, we're talking a 40 cent per hour, which disproportionately and appropriately favors the lower staff.
Right.
And
That's
that's
what,
why
a
we do it
good
that way.
thing. Our staff at the lower levels are not overpaid, they're underpaid, and have been reviewing the wage studies just within the county system,
Yeah.
and we continue to trail. We're not completely out of the range, but we are at the lower end of the range.
yeah,
So this 40, and that's without the benefit of knowing what other counties are doing to add on to where they are.
yeah.
So that was last year's figures. So the 40 cents that you came up with is entirely supported, can be supported and justified.
On the non-union increase, it's roughly a 1.6 or 1.7 on the average increase, which is far below what the cost of living is. It's 2+, I believe, percentage. And if you look at the towns that we passed out on Monday, on Moulton Borough, Ossipee, and Wolfboro, they're all 2% or more. So those three towns in particular are giving a higher increase, I'm sure it must be the average, on percentages than what we're giving at the county level.
I think you're being very conservative, and appropriately so.
The question has come up as to what happens if they reduce the non-union wage, what happens to the union wage? I think to be fair to all our employees at this complex, we need to stay at a 1.6 or 1%, 1.6 or 1.7% increase on the average. And I don't know what the average is for the union, because we haven't actually seen it, or has it been approved. And I don't know, Sheriff, do you know what the average percent increase is for the Sheriff's Department union?
No, I pretty much guarantee it's less than 2%.
Okay.
So I would argue that it'd be a mistake for the non-union to be anything less than the union. Otherwise, you're creating a reason for people to look to the
Join the
union.
union. Sure.
It'd be short-sighted
Mhm.
to do that typically.
Okay, you have any? Anybody else have any questions?
I have other things for you, though, on that front sheet.
Okay.
On the front sheet, have been asked to speak at the Ossipee Valley Rotary Club on Monday, and before I get too far out on a limb, I wanted to be sure that some of the items that I wanted that they wanted to be updated on and I wanted to share with them are consistent that you knew about it and agreed with. You know, that we are talking as part of the future of Mountain View to increasingly looking at a dedicated Medicare rehabilitation unit, that we're going to consider the idea of respite, not representing any of this as being in place, because we've talked about respite, talked about hospice, we talked about adult daycare very briefly. We're effectively capped at not providing more than 2. We can't serve more than 2 people in that, so it's never going to be major, but it could be very helpful to those 2. Our continued commitment to Medicaid eligible residents. I don't want anybody to think that because we're doing some things, we're turning our back on our core. And that we do have a goal, which is not the same as it's a goal of self-sufficiency.
We're not a profit-making facility.
Oh, no.
But we want to break even at least, if
Well,
we can.
and truth is, our definition of breaking even doesn't even come close to what breaking even in the proprietary world is, because our breaking even doesn't include debt service, doesn't include depreciation.
That's true.
Yeah, ours is just breaking even on a cash flow. We will never be able to compete in the profit side. That's
Yeah.
But to the degree that we can not have to have money raised and appropriated by taxpayers is a reasonable and attainable goal. To that end, number 5 is Genesis would like to participate with us in joint marketing of Medicare. And before there were ever an ad in the paper or you heard about something, wanted just to be sure to get your blessing that in order to support the Medicare, we want to go knocking on the doors of hospitals and saying, we've changed, we're going to have an open bed and give us a call.
And this goes along with the study that was done whereby, correct me if I'm wrong, 41% of the time we need to use the bed, or 41% of the time that we have available to use? Which way is it?
It's the first, and it's great that you can remember that. A Medicare
Well,
bed, well, no, but you get that right on.
41%, I heard it.
41%, a Medicare bed that's filled 41% of the time can be empty 59% of the time.
Empty, okay.
And be financially the same as, financially equal to Medicaid. Now, something that I haven't brought up, and I should emphasize that here, and actually Representative Algreen did a great job explaining it. People can be dual eligible. The fact that somebody's Medicare doesn't mean that they're not Medicaid. It means that for a period of time that cannot exceed 100 days, they're eligible for additional benefits. It doesn't mean that they're necessarily not Medicaid. So that we're not, it really isn't, we're really not taking 7 beds. It could be 7 beds, but it's more likely to be less than that. So we're not in any meaningful way reducing the total number of Medicaid beds from what we have presently.
And the doctor determines that.
The doctor determines that. We have no, in fact, it's actually determined more rigidly than that. It's actually determined there has to be a 3-day qualifying stay in a hospital. So it's not just our doctor or the resident's doctor. Medicare is a pretty tough standard. So, and becoming increasingly so. Now, the number 6 is, and I'm not sure if you're ready for this at this time, but if you are, I wanted to put it before you to at least get it discussed, is whether this is a good time, whether you're ready to consider increasing the private pay rates. We haven't done it for this year. And what I'm suggesting, and I think that we should always do, is always to protect the residents that we have. They're here. We cannot and should not increase their rates significantly because that would be, I think, unreasonable. But over time, with new people coming in, we can rebalance. And to that end, met with Paula, and we're suggesting 2 different rates. That for our present residents, that we increase their rate by $10 a day.
I thought we were talking, you got 3.4% increase. I thought I had heard we were looking at a 2.5% increase for current residents.
Well, and I think that would be fine too. There is nothing. I would agree with that. and Paula and I went back and forth this morning, but we thought we would hit you with worst case. But the idea of dropping that to $5 would also work as well.
Okay.
Because, well, we need to take care of the people that we have. I think they came under one set of terms, and we don't want to change them. But any movement in the right direction is a good movement.
And there's a time period, right? Is it a month or 3 months?
30 days.
30
30
days.
days notice.
Okay.
But for new residents, we're recommending splitting the difference, and I also know that you've also talked about a different figure for this as well. During subcommittee meetings, you were looking at $325. But I thought, well, let's put out the word, if it had to be a bad guy, I want to be the bad guy, so that you can be the good guy. But the idea of significantly increasing it for new people coming in, who could then make the choice, pay $400 somewhere else, or pay $350, or whatever figure you agree for here. And this would apply only to new people.
Yeah, go ahead.
How you have here $390 market rate. I've heard in 2 discussions that is not an accurate figure, because the place in
Mineral Springs?
Mineral Springs only has 2 rooms.
One room.
One room.
One single
And the
room.
one over in Wolfboro has something like 2. So
One
they're-
room, and they only have one room.
So they're obviously going to get more money if they're going to be able to use those rooms. People are going to pay more. So I don't see that 390 is an accurate figure, but that's my own.
Well, that's also the rate as we move to the other side of the lake to Meredith, if you went to Golden View. And if you went to places that do have private rooms.
For all rooms?
Private rooms. This is just for private rooms. Mineral Springs.
We have all private rooms.
We have all private
So
rooms.
you're
We're a
saying
public
it'd be-
facility, we're not a private facility where people are coming to, and you might expect to pay a little more because someone's making a profit. Anyway, that's just my feeling.
Yeah. I guess my thinking would be that we might go up to 325 for new residents, rather than the 350. And then in a year's time, go up another 25
And we come
for
back.
new residents.
Exactly. And we would, of course, need to come back to you each year
Yeah.
for any rate increase as a commissioner decision.
I think we're probably not ready to vote on it today, but I think we ought to think about it and do it here in the near future
Yep.
for new residents.
I have a question. What is the current rate now for the new residents?
The new resident, the present rate is $290.
290.
$290. So you want to go to $350, and Commissioner Sorensen is suggesting maybe $325?
Correct.
Correct? Okay.
Do you know what the rate is for the other nursing homes that it's not a private room?
Oh, let's see, the semi-privates? No, without guessing, I believe it's $265.
265?
And that's old information. That could well be, that could be,
I know Grafton County is really low. I don't know why, whether they've got a lot of competition or what, I don't know, but their rate per day is very low
for private.
for county nursing home. I'm not sure about private.
What is the rate there then? What is low? What is the
$200?
Oh, no, see, that's not our reimbursement rate from Medicaid. We certainly don't get $265 from Medicaid, we get about $168 from
Yeah.
Medicaid.
Yeah.
So
You're
that's,
talking-
that, yeah.
Go ahead. Excuse me.
No, I'm talking about what they charge per room, per
person.
day,
Per day.
per person.
Well,
You might ask, I'd like to know really why it's so low over there. I can't understand it. Being a rural,
They have more rooms.
well, I'll be meeting with their administrator tomorrow. All the county administrators are coming to Mountain View tomorrow.
that's right.
Can you, while they're here, Howie, get a sense of what they're getting for a single room and a double room, if they have such a thing?
Well,
I'd like to compare apples to apples, so
Yeah.
the ones that have single rooms, if they know offhand what.
No,
Yeah.
let me get, it'll never be easier, because we'll have just about all of them here tomorrow.
Well, would a single room be considered a private room?
Be a private room. Most county homes don't
Don't
have
have
any.
private rooms.
Or if they do, they actually reserve it for infection control purposes. They don't use it for private pay. They use it for, where there's clinical problems.
Yeah.
For isolation.
Okay, I think what I'd like you to do is to come back after the budget is over with, and talk more about our increases for current residents and for new residents.
Okay.
We don't want to forget it. So
It
if we
has
can
a-
come up with those figures from some of the other counties as to what their single room is or double room, like Commissioner Babson is asking, I think maybe we can make a better judgment,
I'll get those figures for you.
especially with Mineral Springs and the one in Wolfboro.
They don't provide, they're the only thing in our market, but they aren't a great standard in terms of there's not enough for it to be competitive. Golden View provides probably the most independent part because they have new rooms similar to our private rooms, and
Mhm.
they're getting, last year, they were getting over $400.
$400
Oh, well, that's not uncommon.
for a private room.
For a private room.
And are they full?
They swing their new rehab room, so I don't believe they are full, but they would rather see them be used for rehab.
Rehab, they can make more money.
They can, rehab.
Well, maybe
actually-
that's where the 400 is.
That's
I tend to agree with Commissioner Babson. I think we need to look at apples, and not apples and oranges, but
well, let me get more numbers for you.
okay.
Last item I have for you is just an update that this is going back some, but we did advertise for bids for changes in the Mount Washington Valley room. The money for that, by just to refresh your memories, actually came or will come from savings from carpet that wasn't repaired. So the money that was saved in the room is staying in the room. And so we have at least two, and I need to get a third one. We didn't get much of a response for this work, but we have a couple of good ones. And I want to get a third viable one.
And this is
And for
regards to...
soundproofing the room?
No,
Echo control or?
Bob has a plan for that. He wants to do that in-house, using that same money. But we never got a response from the firm that we looked at from Boston. They just never came up with a proposal. But Bob listened very carefully to what they were going to do and feels he can essentially mimic what they were going to do for a fraction of the cost. So that we have a fallback opportunity. But the first part comes with taking, if you're in the Mount Washington Valley room, looking at the TV, to your left, you see a bunch of unused racks.
Yeah.
In that cubby, the goal is
I was
to
thinking
build
of
a-
the conference room. You're
I
talking
was
about
too.
you're talking about the eating room.
Eating room,
The main
yeah.
dining room.
Although the sound part will eventually, we fully expect there's gonna be enough money left to be able to do that part too.
Okay.
But in the main part, it'll allow putting in a countertop and cabinets and lower cabinets. And it'll allow that area to have a small sink it'll make it look better, but it'll also make it more usable. Now that we're having more and more functions, having water there would be a help. And having the cabinet space there, but it would address that entire area up.
Is there water available inside the cafe area?
There is. So that we have power and plumbing right on the other side of the wall.
Oh.
So the mechanical part's gonna be very easy to do.
Oh, okay.
So it's relatively straightforward. Apparently, it was always designed for that, but as part of a cost savings during construction, as part of value engineering, that portion was pulled out at the time.
So you're not gonna need those tray carriers?
We've never used them.
And you don't think you'll use them in the future, I take it?
No, not for the purpose that they're intended. Rob's looking to see whether or not for storage or preparation, or perhaps even for walk-in freezer use, they might have an alternative use. But they'll probably be declared surplus at some point.
But you do have trays, when we go over there for that monthly breakfast, trays are used by everybody in that particular room. So then what's gonna happen to the trays?
Well, think in terms of McDonald's, think in terms of Wendy's, where staff especially, and it's mostly staff who are taking the trays, will actually bust them themselves so that there'll be a place to put it into the trash and stack the trays on top. So
Well,
instead
there
of
is now.
instead of putting them in, which is what they're really doing now, because they seldom use the tray rack, they would rather clean up after themselves.
Maybe you could use a tray rack to carry around the useless tables from the Registry of Deeds and get rid of them all at once. I can't believe there's not a hospital or a nursing home or somebody
They would
that
use them.
can't use those metal racks. They're well-made.
Yeah. And what is it, 4 of them?
Well, I'm not sure that they can't be used. I mean, they can't be sold. I'm not saying they don't have any value. They just don't have any use for us. We would, with your permission, want to sell them to Advantage for the purpose they're intended. There were other places that would use them.
Well, let's wait until we get the changes made in that room and then put out a
Oh, exactly. I mean,
proposal
there might be, we start within the county home system, put a price on them, and, I don't think we're gonna.
You might mention that at tomorrow's meeting.
Oh, definitely. In fact, I'll show them to them, see if we can't get an offer right away, because it would be to everybody's advantage. And especially, I want to be sure if I hear of any place that's renovating their kitchen, doing the same. Some people have that system and would continue with it, and they could upgrade their equipment. So, no, I don't think we're gonna throw there's no reason to think that we need to throw it away. But even if we get half of what we paid for it, they're still pricey pieces of rolling stock.
I can think of a possibility with bigger wheels in the new high tower greenhouse. It would be perfect to put shelves on and all the plants
Plants?
come in boxes and just roll them up and down the aisle. So talk to Willie before you unload them.
No,
We
definitely.
might have to make a few modifications, but they can weld in the shop out there. Maybe we make it into something we can use here.
No reason why not.
Yeah, yeah. You're right. Is this the first time we've seen the request for proposals for putting cabinets and a sink in that area where those trays are,
No,
the racks are being stored?
No, you approved this some months ago when we asked whether or not you wanted to negotiate the contract, and you directed us to put it into the paper, and we combined the ad to save money with the request for proposal for solid waste management. So
Oh, yes,
we
that's
did
right.
both at the same time,
Yeah.
and it cost half the money, and so Bob got the RFPs, and we actually didn't get any.
And that went through HR?
No,
Bids don't have,
Business office.
you're strictly personnel?
Yeah, those go through the business office.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got 2 in, and you're hoping to get another one?
I'm looking for, I think it's better to have 3, and it's just.
Are they local?
One is local, one is Laconia, I'm surprised there weren't more local.
Where was it advertised?
It was advertised Carroll County Independent and the Daily Sun.
Really? Because we got people in North Conway that make cabinets. And we got plumbers that can put in a sink. I would think on that project, it's not a big project.
No, it's not big. We are looking for somebody to
And
be,
local people could do that.
to be a general contractor and to coordinate essentially the two
Well,
trades,
I mean,
which isn't hard to do.
If you got just cabinets over, I'm not sure if they're in Conway now or Freiburg, but you got that other one on the East Conway Road that puts cabinets in, and I'm sure when they put cabinets in, they must put counters and sinks.
Water and
And
sinks.
so forth, and if the water is just on the other side of the wall, boy, I think somebody ought to get on the phone and see if some of these people that are cabinet makers couldn't do that job.
There's no
And
reason.
they probably could do it a lot more than having a general contractor come in and do it.
No, there's no reason why, 80% of the work is the casework.
You got any specifications on it?
In fact, you actually approved and directed that we get the specifications drawn up by the architect. So we.
Okay.
We got all the drawings.
So you got the design.
We got the design, so it's all,
Maybe the newspaper can help us out in their column that, here's a place where a local contractor who is probably looking for jobs, if the housing market is down, that here's a place where they could help provide something that we need. What do you think, Melissa? Okay.
But if
Anyway,
you know, but if you know of anybody, send them our way. I'm still continuing to look for that third bidder, so but there is no reason why a cabinet maker wouldn't be.
especially if we get it all designed, all they gotta do is look at it and come up with a price.
Is it on the website?
I don't believe that it is.
All right, that's a place where you ought to put it, on the website.
I have another suggestion,
Go ahead.
that you print up some brochures and set them on the counter, so when people come in to see their loved ones, a lot of these people are in their 40s and 50s, and some of them are even in the construction business, and if they don't know, if they aren't, they might know somebody that is, and will pick one up and take it with them.
Well, and have approached at least one person that way, and you would think that he'd want to get back, and he never followed up and invited.
Well, that's only one person.
Yeah.
There's hundreds of them here in Carroll County that do carpentry work.
Let me ask this question. Can you tell me where those two bids come from? Are they out of the county?
The one I believe Bob has coordinated. I believe that's from Wolfboro, Wynn County. The other one is from Laconia, from CCI, who's
Okay.
out of county.
Okay. I will try and call the one that I know in North Conway. And I know there's another one in Freiburg.
Can't you take a flyer to the Rotary
If I
Club
had the
meeting
flyer or-
something?
Yeah, I could. I don't know,
Chamber of Commerce?
contractors there, but there's gotta be somebody that can do that. It's not a big
I
job.
mean,
This-
this
it's
is the
not
type
on.
of work that local people can do.
All right.
and-
We expected to be inundated after running the ad.
They probably don't realize that it's a small project. I haven't seen the RFP, so I don't know, but,
That's essentially just installing, 12 foot of casework. I mean, that's not a.
is that what it is, 12 feet?
It's just 12 foot. I mean, many kitchens are much bigger than that.
When you go back, send over that RFP. At least I can take that to a couple of people. And if you could make a copy of the design, that would be even better.
If I'd have the email attachment for the architect, very elaborate. It's actually part of what he already had designed, but I'll get the specs for that
Okay.
as well.
That'd be great. Okay, we need to know today, you say they're not gonna vote until 3 o'clock.
Well, they're voting at 2 o'clock, 7 o'clock for the night shift, 2 o'clock for the day shift, and 3 o'clock for today's evening shift.
Because we have to approve the contract before it even goes to the delegation. Okay, we'll have to, we could probably be here till after 3 o'clock.
See, I think they're
Stuff to
assuming
do.
that what they're voting on is what you have approved.
Well, we haven't approved anything. You mean what we approved for the non-union?
No, I think the unions people feel that they're voting on what the commissioners have approved, and they need to accept it or reject it.
No, I don't. Am I wrong? We haven't approved anything.
I don't think we've taken a formal vote, but we certainly gave the negotiator what we thought were goals, and then when he called back, we said, yes, we'll take it, or no, we won't. It wasn't a formal vote, as I recall.
Right, right.
So I think what they're getting is what this board wanted to go forward with.
Suggested to the negotiator.
Kenny, how do you feel about that?
I believe we did make some recommendations.
Recommendations to our
Yeah.
negotiator. Right. Okay. Well, I think we need to take a formal vote, and also on the sheriff's department. I don't think we've done that either. Okay, anything else?
That's all I have.
Anything else over
Nope.
here? Nope. All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Is the good sheriff still around?
Yeah, Howie, if you ask the sheriff to come in?
I can do that.
Thank you.
You're on.
What is this EMPG grant?
I don't know, we'll find out.
Easy money promotes guns?
Okay. EMPG grant,
Is the New Hampshire Emergency Management Performance Grant.
performance
way off, wasn't he,
grant.
Tom?
And this, you were, and this is just the agreement that.
Did you say emergency management?
Yeah. performance.
Emergency management performance grant?
Yeah.
Is that it?
And this is just the agreement that the commissioners would need to sign to get the money, to send it to the executive council for approval, because it is over $10,000.
And how much?
Uh,
How much is it? Is this it?
It's a half
12?
grant, right,
Oh.
and that's, the amount that would be each half this month. So it's almost a $25,000 total. Is up top, is the amount. And this is for a software upgrade for dispatch to enable it to be the information hub for the whole county. So every PD in the county would be able to get the information directly from their computer at their office or at the, possibly in a cruiser if they're set up for that.
So this isn't the famous $300,000?
This is not the $900,000 grant, no.
No.
I think that's,
Because that would be the Homeland Security grant.
so our minutes need to show,
And I can leave that with you, and it would need a notarization on your signatures, so I can leave that with you, and
okay. But, refresh me again, what is it for?
it's for software upgrades for dispatch.
For dispatch.
Yeah, to enable other agencies outside of our office. Every town in the county would be able to access the information, and everybody would be pooling the information of suspects and any cases that they have. It's called M&I, which is a master's index of anyone you put into the system. So make that information available. If they want to get another department's reports, that has to be worked out with each department, whether they agree to that or not.
And each department has the equipment to do this?
No, this
No.
would be the initial start of it. I know Tufton Borough is asking for their part this year.
Yeah,
Molten Borough is set up for it, and might be a couple other towns, but some of the towns are putting it in for it this year in their budgets. Others may wait till we actually get it.
Now, they should be, they can talk to each other now, correct?
Right, this has nothing to do with radio communication. This
No.
has to do with
Information.
the
accessible.
report information, right,
Okay.
right.
Dominic, it says here, minutes should also include what the grant is for, the total project cost, which is what?
It would be double that figure on the top, so just shy of, well, that should be a little.
12,979, 12,000, 13,000 bucks?
So just shy of 26,000 is the total.
Well, half of,
Our half,
So
our half is that. 12,900.
Twice this figure is the total. So that's
and
what,
so we're supplying, and the next part of it is that we have to supply 50%.
Right,
which is that figure right there.
That figure there,
Okay.
okay.
Well, do I hear a motion to approve that grant
I'll make a motion to approve the grant, the
for the purpose of?
emergency management preparation grant,
To
Thought-
be used,
I thought it was performance.
performance grant, you're right, thank you.
to be used in the communication center.
communication center, yep.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Since this is the first case, and since Commissioner Kenney's husband has been elected executive council, and they have the final say on this, somewhere in here, is there a conflict of interest?
Ooh.
I would have no idea. I don't see why, and if he knows of a reason, I would expect him to recuse himself of a vote.
If anybody would have to, I would think it would be Joan, not Asha.
Yeah.
Because it is Wakefield, his wife is the one voting on this.
Right.
No, I
I'm
would think
sure
it would-
there'll be
I
other
don't
instances
see a
that come up.
conflict with herself.
I don't either.
Would not be able to
I just
sign
wanted
this or agree to
to
it.
mention it.
Yep. Nor with the executive council, if even then.
Any further comment or questions? Seeing none, all those in support of the motion, say aye.
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 Aye, those opposed, nay, so it's unanimous.
Thank you.
You
I'll
want me to
leave that with
sign
you.
this as the name and title of grantees?
You want me to leave that with you so you can get it?
No,
notarized?
wait a minute, no, you stay right
You'll
there.
lose it if you leave it.
It's gonna be notarized. Your signature. So all three would sign, yeah. when you do
All
it.
three of us?
Yeah,
Okay.
or at least two. That's what I was told.
That should- Anything in all this stuff here that?
No. No, the Heidi Lawton, who helped us with this, we've worked with her on several grants, and she walked us through it remarkably.
So we
So you want me to initial this too, right?
If you could.
So we have to sign, is it 2 times?
Yeah.
Sign.
Here
There'll be
and
3
here?
times, right?
Where is the third one, all the way?
It's on the, between the other two.
You did
positions.
right there.
Yeah, so I
and
did that.
then right
and
here.
Okay, one more.
And then one
Where are we? 319?
So you need the signature of the Notary Public of Justice of the Peace.
more. Yes. So I can bring it to Kathy, I guess. And
Commissioner Babson, when you made the motion, did you put in the numbers? 12,979?
Good point, Commissioner Kenney, I did not. I'll amend
I'd
that
like
to
to
add
have-
the figure of 12,979,000.
79.
Thank you. Yes, you're right, I didn't do that.
I believe there is a RSA, anytime you accept grant and expenditure of grant, you need to have a public hearing. There is a RSA though. Anytime you accept any grant before it gets expended, you need to have a public hearing. Look it up. Got it.
This actual grant has been discussed through the whole budget process, I know that.
Discuss through the
This
budget
was into the
process,
budget.
but you just don't have a public hearing.
Yeah, I don't know that we've ever had.
I know, I don't think we ever had, yeah, precisely.
Actually, I think you all signed on the wrong.
You got the other three, right?
Two.
There's gonna be
You all
initial
signed on-
two.
You all signed on the wrong
I
side.
got only
What?
two, are there more?
Yeah.
I got two only.
Is it-
Is there another more?
Signature is actually supposed to be here and then the printed name and title. It says signature.
And is there the signature?
I got initial
date,
those two.
title? Oh, okay, so.
I'm sure she'll just crisscross them.
So you need to do at, the both commissions, you need to just write your name here. This is the signature, and that is just your name, so you have to do this again. And where are the two other ones? I don't think they put in their signature, they just
Yeah,
write in their
they
name.
have it over there.
Oh, you gave it back?
Am I signing this time?
Just print your name.
And then.
Is it another one?
Initials. for this.
You have some more?
Whereabouts,
It's
David?
two all there.
Right here.
So all this
Right
is
there.
just initials?
Yes, please.
Everyone?
Yes. I think there's
You want
three-
all three of us
I think there's
All
three
three?
lines there, yeah.
But
You're
this
right.
is-
Say just,
Okay, but it's only like two
All right.
little boxes.
Put your initials there too.
I used to know how to find the laws, the RSA's on here, but I can't find it. General court, roll call, statute. There we go.
Initial there.
Okay.
We have 5 initials here.
And print there.
So you need to initials and print his name there. So this one is done.
need more ink and a pen.
Need to print that one. See, that's why I wanted you to stay here, make sure we got this done all right.
This is done here.
No, put your pen down.
Blouse.
Thank you. You get everything now?
Can you check it if they all
Yep.
sign
All
everything?
set. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We held the March 12th minutes. Do we want to approve them now?
No, I haven't had a chance to read them yet.
And what was that, last week?
Last week?
Oh, last week's.
Yeah.
Why did we hold them, David?
Because you read them and
I
asked
did
if
read
there's-
them, I have two comments, two corrections.
You have corrections?
Yeah, I have two. I don't have the minutes with me though.
Do you know where the corrections are to be made?
Yeah, so
These are
we're
the
doing minutes now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'd like to get the minutes approved the following week if at all possible. Rather than holding over, they tend to get delayed.
Okay, let's see. This is last week.
You have anything?
I just need to go into non-public with you.
You have a what?
I need to go into non-public with you just briefly.
Oh, okay.
For what? Do you have the?
Personnel?
We need to have the RSA.
Yeah, 91A, RSA, A and E.
Two different ones.
Is that personnel?
The first one, personnel, the other one has to do with litigation.
Okay.
David, I'm sorry, I thought I had the 12th here, but I don't.
Declare a 5-minute recess.
Wait a minute, I have to read it again. See where it is.
You can go down and get your minutes. You can look for your corrections.
Yeah, I had to.
So in recess for 5 minutes. Be back here at 2:45. Chance to make your corrections?
Yes, I didn't make it, but I have a couple issues when I was reading it. Oh, are we back in?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, March 12th, the last week minutes. And page 6. It's all the way, I think it's the third paragraph from down. It said something about, it was about a confidentiality agreement. Oh, it was about the HR director signing a confidentiality agreement.
Mhm.
And I believe that Commissioner Babson said she did it after the interview. Was that correct? Did you say that last week?
Did I say what?
That the HR director signed a confidentiality agreement after the interview.
After the interview?
Do you say that, huh?
After she sat here and said she'd sign it after the interview or before she got hired, yeah.
You said, I believe it was after the interview, yes. So at that point, after the interview, we didn't even know if she was hired. So I don't understand how she signed the confidentiality
Okay, we'll
agreement
take it out.
when she sits here. No, we're not taking it out, but I mean, that is inaccurate, the information.
Yeah, I lied.
And
another
then, yeah, she wrote, a minute taker said Commissioner Kenney accused Commissioner Sorensen and Babson of illegal meetings. But I believe we were talking about the facts. There were meetings that Melissa Siemers brought one up, that she was watching that the cooker mixtures. And you were talking at a meeting that you were talking about purchasing, was it coffee machines or something? So it is a fact that there's something that you guys actually admitted that you had a meeting, and it was with a minute taker you had another meeting. So those are facts, and she's just writing, I'm accusing. It is not an accusation. I mean, those are facts. So that is wrong.
Can I see what that said?
She said, I was accusing about this meeting, but actually those meetings happened, and
Commissioner
you
Sorensen
actually
going
admitted
around
it.
her and holding illegal
That
meetings?
is what
Do you
she-
have- do
that
you
is
have-
what she wrote.
Do you have proof of that?
You admitted, I mean, Siemens saw you there. I mean, I think she was in the hall or something, and she said that you two were there in the room with the HR, and then you said you were talking about a lunch buffet, and you were talking about purchasing of new coffee machines. You said it yourself at the meeting.
No, we said that we were there, we were talking about David's trip to Switzerland.
Oh, that's
And-
another thing you added. Whoa, that's new. 3 things.
You got anything more to say before I finish, Commissioner?
Yes,
Go ahead.
so. And.
I don't know, it doesn't make sense. what
Well,
it
that is the way she write it. I mean, and I have something to say. This issue was at a meeting. I already talked about that. Page 7. I think you were saying something about Commissioner Sorensen said something, a document. I think you were talking about, you say, was it a settlement that you were talking about? It said Commissioner Sorensen said a settlement was copied, as you said, just document, was copied in the sheriff's office, which was reported by the previous sheriff. That is actually allegation what you make, and she didn't actually put it as an allegation. You said you were going to bring proof today. Do you have it?
I didn't say I was gonna bring proof.
That is what you said last week, that
No, I
you have
didn't.
the proof.
I
Are you
said the
talking-
sheriff would prove that.
Are you talking about a settlement where there was no vote taken? There was a settlement agreement that there was no vote taken? It was
No.
only the commissioner signed. I
No.
believe that is what you've been talking about.
That's-
And
You got any more?
page 7, that's it.
Sorry, answer the documents are locked in his desk because they were stored in their previous location. At least one of the documents was photocopied in the sheriff's office, which was reported by a previous sheriff. No. There was a previous location. Documents were locked in a desk because they were stored in their previous location. One of the documents was missing. Stored in the previous location. Not an allegation. Commissioner Babson also asked why Commissioner refused to give Mr. Groot a copy of some non-public minutes that were requested by the county lawyer. The group has signed a confidential agreement. Yes. Commissioner Kenney argued that she would not release non-public minutes to anyone and that she had not seen the group's signed agreement. Sorensen that all 3 commissioners were present at the time. Commissioner Kenney then accused Commissioner Babson. This doesn't make sense. Commissioner Sorensen that all 3 commissioners were present at the time. That was when the request was made to have non-public minutes sent to our attorney. And you're accusing us of going around
Okay, what are you talking about?
her and holding illegal meetings? That doesn't make sense.
I don't know what you're talking about. What is it? I don't have a set.
You were present at the time. Commissioner Kenney if you're saying that we had an illegal meeting because we wanted you to give the documents to the HR,
No, I think that is something else.
that wasn't an illegal meeting, it
That-
wasn't a meeting.
That is something else.
Well, there's no,
Yeah, she wrote it that way, but I think we were talking about, that it was a meeting what you had with a minute taker, but you had
and
another meeting
Siemens was at the
talking.
meeting?
Siemens reported that there were two commissioners and an HR director, and you said at a meeting that you were talking about, lunch buffet and about purchasing of a new coffee
A lunch
machines,
buffet.
and now he added it to trip. Yeah.
I would take that whole sentence out.
What, let me see what is going to be taken out.
I would take this whole sentence out. I don't know what
Page
you're talking about.
six.
That was about the
Going
meetings.
around
She's,
her back.
Second,
well,
or
that
next to
is
last
how
paragraph.
she worded, that is her
Here,
wording.
Melissa.
I didn't say that. That is how
Then
she
wanna
worded.
take it out?
Well, maybe, holding of
Because it
had illegal
doesn't make
meeting.
sense.
Well, that is her words. I think one was reported by her that it was a meeting, and what was, what
But if
is,
it had
what
to
is
do with-
before? What is this here? What is this, non-public minutes?
If it had to do with a confidentiality agreement,
This
she would not
confidentiality
release.
agreement is from HR,
yeah,
so that is HR confidential commission.
but this sentence
That
doesn't
I
make
was the
sense.
list managed to anyone and that she had not seen as the road, so I think that is accurate, I think we talk about that.
That's accurate, yeah, but I don't think that is.
And Commissioner Sorensen said that all the commissioners, well, this has to do with it, this should be here.
Right.
This has to do with an agreement.
Yep.
At present, that, okay. And then accuse, she should take this out, the accuse.
I think you take the whole sentence
I
out.
didn't make accusations. I mean, those were facts that there were several meetings. Oh,
I don't see what the second sentence has to do with the price of eggs. I just leave in Commissioner Sorensen said that all three commissioners were present at the time.
And
That's
take
a
out that
discussion.
sentence?
Yep, and that's a discussion of the confidentiality agreement.
and I
Right.
think there was a mention about, there were several meetings with HR.
And I
was
think
not
up
present.
here, you got this other paragraph?
What page you on, David?
Page 7. This paragraph here, she asserted that all actions should be taken by the clerk. Commissioner Sorensen answered that the documents are locked in his desk because when they were stored in their previous location, at least one of the documents was missing and believed to be photocopied in the sheriff's office, which was reported by the previous sheriff.
And that's what you
Period.
I
said.
thought
And
that you
that's what
said it was photocopied, and then later I mentioned that you said first that it was missing, and later you said it was photocopied.
Was stored at previous location, at least one of the, and, rather than at. And at least one of the documents was missing and believed to be photocopied in the sheriff's office. You got any corrections?
No, I talked to Michelle about, there's a couple of typos in here that I mentioned to her when she was here last week. Other than that, I don't have any corrections.
You don't have any?
No.
Do I hear a motion to accept the March 12th meetings as
Okay,
corrected?
let me see what you added or take out.
Nothing on those two pages. We're gonna take that whole sentence out?
And I think there was a discussion later about this. It was not, I think,
It didn't pertain there. I don't know where it came from.
it probably needs to be further maybe, but there was a discussion about that. And I think that were her words. That's were not my words.
All right, then we take it out, if not
So
your words.
This thing were her words, and I think there was a discussion about the two commissioners having meetings. I think that she mentioned was one, and I mentioned everyone.
And
So
over
I think we
here,
have to put this should be in, and we take this piece out.
over here, and at least one of the documents was missing and believed to be photocopied in the sheriff's office, which was reported by the previous sheriff. Period.
I think you said that you make the allegation, you said there was
I'm
a.
not making any
that-
allegation, I'm
That
just
is
saying
what you
that.
said, it was photocopied.
But I didn't say, I didn't use the word allegations.
I said first, but that is what it is, it's like an accusation. And I said,
That's your term.
first, you were saying a few years ago that it was missing, and now you
It was.
changed, it was photocopied.
It was missing. That was reported, that's correct.
It was missing.
It was missing.
You had it all
And
the time,
found.
it had it all the time in your locked file cabinet,
No, I
yes.
didn't. No, I didn't.
Yes, you had it.
I'm not gonna argue with you.
You even said it to the former county
Do I have
attorney.
a motion to accept these minutes as corrected?
I'll make a
Did you
motion
make a
to
motion?
accept the minutes, yep,
Do I hear a second?
as corrected.
Then I will second it. All those in support of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, nay.
Oppose.
Okay, passes 2-1. We have non-public minutes, but our secretary, recording secretary is not here, so,
Okay, can I see the date again? March 12.
okay. Where are we? Work session?
March 12.
Work session?
Work session? You have something? Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I got two things. I'd like to go back. Somehow we get sidetracked on reports early on.
Okay.
The other thing is, last week, Commissioner Kenney said that she had an email that she'd sent to me about the minutes on Mr. Groot's cell phone, and that she'd bring them in this week.
Oh,
And
minutes?
that she also said that she had information last week to go to with the two Jasons about, I forget the name of the company, and she'd bring those in. I'd like to know, Mr. Chairman, if she brought them in.
Did you bring your documents in today?
I did. I cannot find it. I did bring it in. I did bring it in. I believe it's
The one dealing,
And they are not coming today? I think I have to email it to you. Let's say I was going to, I'm going to email it to you, Commissioner Babson, I'm going to put it up, it's public information
What'd she say?
anyway.
What did you say, Commissioner?
I'm going to email it to you.
Uh,
I did bring it
Mr.
in.
Chairman, I would like to make a motion that we recess this meeting and that we don't get paid mileage today. If someone would second it, I'd like to discuss it.
Mileage for what?
I'll second it for discussion. I don't know if I
Okay.
agree with it.
All right. I've just had it with accusations against our employees here. And excuse me, Commissioner, I have the floor. And I'm just sick and tired of hearing, it's downstairs, or I had it yesterday, or I'll bring it next week. It never happens, and I just had it, and I would like to recess this meeting because we were told we would have both of these pieces of paper today, and we have neither. And it's time we stop attacking our employees.
Okay, let me see if I can pull it up.
Okay, any further discussion?
Yeah. Let me
Go
see what
ahead.
I can pull up here.
You have any further discussion?
Yeah, it is not attacking. I have the information, I have this paperwork, but I cannot retrieve my messages.
I'm sorry, can we move the question, Mr. Chairman?
No, wait, let me see if I can.
Well, under
I cannot
discussion,
get
if
it.
we recess, we're not gonna be able to hear from HR regarding a non-public meeting.
We can come back tomorrow.
Tomorrow for what? What are you talking about, Commissioner Babson?
Pay attention.
What he's
will you
saying
please?
is that, basically, that he made a motion to recess until you
And
can-
not get paid mileage for today's meeting. That was in it.
and not get paid for today, for mileage for today's meeting. And what else?
And that's it, until Commissioner Kenney comes up with those 2 papers that she got through attacking our employees, please bring them in.
Don't attack any employee. Oh,
Yeah.
here we go. Let me see if I can. I have a hard time retrieving that.
If we recess, then it's all over.
Right, and come back tomorrow. I don't mind coming in.
Then you got to,
Okay.
you
For the call of the chair, you can call it at 1 o'clock tomorrow.
well,
2
you want
o'clock.
to add that to your motion, otherwise,
Okay.
we've got
Okay.
to
I'll
have.
recess to the call of the chair.
I can get that information if I can, maybe I can print this out.
You had a
But I
week to
had-
do it, Commissioner.
I had a hard time retrieving it. It was not working.
Right, we have the same excuse every week.
No, it was not working. So I have it here. If you can read the small numbers, you can read it from here. It's all here. I have it in, it's from Critical Information Network. The number of participants is 40, and the implementation fee is $500. That is a one-time implementation fee, and so the total is $3,500. And it is $3,000 a year. And they doing a trial, so they can set up a trial. It's not a 7-year contract. The current now what we have is Reliance Company, and they are asking $4,800 a year. And this company is $3,000.
Again,
And the Reliance, we have the contract. I don't have to bring that. Didn't you have that contract from the Reliance Company?
we have the contract.
Yes. So you have,
Superintendent has a contract.
you
He
have
was
that-
prepared to talk about it last week,
You
and you
have-
didn't have your part. So we
I have,
Postponed it till this week.
postponed it to this week. He's not here.
I have my document.
So
now
look,
here.
next week,
No, I have it
when
here.
he's here, can you bring your documentation in? And we can compare the two and find out who is telling the truth and who is not? Could you do that?
Yeah, I have it right here.
That's in
Yeah.
regards to the jail.
That is regards to that.
What was the other one?
The other one was an email that Commissioner Kenney said she'd sent to me about Winnett's telephone service, and that she would publicly make a written statement this week about why she wanted those records. I'm still waiting for it.
Why, which records are you talking about now?
I don't know, that's what you said last week.
What? I have to go
You
watch
said
the video.
You said you'd bring in an email that you sent to me, and you said you'd also, further on that discussion, you would make, or you'd write your answer and you'd have it today. Where is it?
I have to watch the video. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Are you talking about an email that I sent to you? I don't know. Is
I
that
don't-
what you're talking
I have a motion on the
about?
floor, Mr. Chairman.
What, I
I'm still
have,
in a discussion.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Could we make
I
an
mean,
exception and ask Ed, 'cause
I
maybe he
can
remembers?
actually print out my email, so you have that.
I'll
if
make
you're
one
talking about
exception.
that.
Go ahead, Ed.
It was the cell phone bills. Commissioner Kenney made copies of cell phone bills.
Right.
And you confronted her about a
Why?
privacy issue about those numbers.
All right, it was his cell phone bills, and he asked the question as to why you were looking at the cell phone bills of the HR director.
That. I think I answered him. I sent an email to him.
That's
And
what we need.
Do I have to
We
print out
need
a?
that, we need that email.
Okay.
You said you'd be bringing it in this week.
Yep, I have it.
Where is it?
I have to print it out.
Can we move the question, Mr. Chairman?
I have to print it out.
Again,
So
I'm
you're
saying
talking
that
about
if
the
we
email. Okay.
recess to the call of the chairman,
Actually, I can get it now. Let's just recess. I can bring it up.
you got it?
Yeah, I can get it downstairs. I can go grab it.
All right,
Take a
then.
recess
Let's
and call it
recess,
back
let's
in 10
recess,
minutes.
then we have that.
All right, I'll recess for, until 3:15. We had negotiated a wonderful agreement with them, but we wanted to
Did
test
you?
the outside waters. Actually, Commissioner Babson helped negotiate a new term of contract, but we didn't want to accept that without at least seeing if there was anybody else. We had called and couldn't find anybody, but to be true to the law, we wanted to at least go public to give people an opportunity to.
Well, we voted, it was a 2-to-1 vote, as you recall. Commissioner Kenney would not allow us to go out and would not allow us to accept the contract. And so the contract's up August 11th, I believe, 15, and because they were going to carry over for 19 months the whole price.
It would take a unanimous vote in order to.
And we
not
didn't
go
have
So
it.
we didn't have the unanimous
So why
vote,
did you
so
go
it
out,
failed.
why did you go out now when the contract isn't up for another year and 19 months?
Because you negotiated with them a savings that would take place as soon as we renegotiated. We'd start saving.
Yes, and then, but we then had a vote here to be able to do that, and the vote was 2-to-1 against it, and we had to go out for bid, and at the time, the discussion was, why do it now when we've got 19 months left on the contract?
No, the decision at the time was to go out to bid in order to take advantage of that $150 a month savings.
We couldn't, because Commissioner
We didn't
Kenney
have-
wouldn't go
We had to
along
have
with it.
3 votes, and we only had 2. So that contract didn't go through. And are you saying that it went out for bid a second time?
No, it just went out for bid the first time.
All right, then that's a dead issue. It never passed.
Because I know the concern was raised about the cost of going out to bid when we knew we only likely had one
Correct.
qualified bidder. But by combining the 2 bids.
And it's too bad we could have saved money on it if we had 3 votes, but we didn't.
The 3 votes would be if you wanted to waive the bidding process.
And that's what we
That's
wanted to
what
do.
happened.
And that didn't pass, so it had to go out to bid.
That's correct. And we said, why go out to bid now when the contract isn't up until August 15th, I believe it is, of 2015? Because one of the things that Waste Management had offered was a price concession for the 19 months that are left on the contract that we currently have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that was the reason for going out to bid, to see if, essentially, they were willing to give up their contract to enter into a new contract, and we were seeing if there's anybody else that could give us a better contract.
Well, it's a dead issue because it didn't pass. That's all I can say.
We cannot unilaterally get out of this contract without reason, I don't believe. If we still have 19 months, they base their contract price on 3 years. We can't get out of it when a year and a half of it's gone by.
Except they were gonna release us from it and save us $150 a month.
But the point is, and we should be in recess, we shouldn't be talking about it now, but
Yeah, let's wait, yeah. Except that the commissioner was gonna be back at 3:15. So we can go back into session if you want.
right. I said we'd go back in at 3:15, it's now 3:17 or so. We're back in session. Now let's talk about this contract with solid waste and recycling removal. My understanding is that, yes, we voted on it, but we only had,
2-to-1.
it went 2-to-1, and it had to be unanimous to accept the change. We did not get it unanimously, so therefore, the motion passed.
The motion, the unanimous vote was
Motion
needed.
did not pass.
The unanimous vote would have been needed to waive bidding.
That's right.
And that failing, because there was one opposed, the decision was made to go out to bid.
No.
No, I don't think so.
What was said at the time is there's no need to go out for the bid now because we have 19 months left on the contract.
And since it failed,
We were going
We
to be
couldn't-
able to move right into the new contract if
with
we
a
had a
saving
3-0
based
vote
on 2011
with
or something, right?
$150 to a $200 savings a month.
Didn't pass, I'm sorry.
But we don't save any money.
We don't. You're exactly
No,
right.
no, that was the
Because
problem.
it wasn't a unanimous vote, so we can't save any money.
Plus, we have to pay to advertise.
But we did go out to bid, and Waste Management, even knowing that, kept their same proposal in. So they didn't increase their price or change their price, they also didn't go down.
Well, I gotta ask you, when did this bid close?
I think the notation on that was February 20th.
That's what you got written down. All bids must be received by February 20th, 2014.
And there were no other bids received for the Waste Management side. And we didn't really expect any, because Bob had already personally, before getting to that point, had called. But the other commissioner wanted to adhere to the protocol, which was to, that it had the right for contracts over $5,000 to be put out to bid.
Right.
And we also had the discussion of, that was gonna add expense to the whole process,
Yep.
because we had the expense of advertising. And it
Yep.
agreed that, well, to spend the advertising money to save the $150 a month made sense. And there's a
Howie,
possibility of getting a
I'm not gonna
lower.
argue with you, but it needed a unanimous vote to accept that bid or that proposal, and we didn't get it. So it's,
Moot question.
yeah, it's a moot
Can I
question.
ask a question, or is
Yeah,
that?
go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'm confused, and maybe just, you negotiated a contract with Bob's help with Waste Management, right?
Yep,
You brought it here,
yep,
and you said, we've got this great deal, not only for the 3 years future, but in the 19 months until it expires, we're gonna get a better price,
Yep,
yes.
right?
2011 price.
So it didn't go out to bid, it was just negotiated with the current contractor.
Well, it did and it didn't. We had the two other people that were capable of doing the job in this area. Both came in and both sent back that they weren't interested in bidding it. So that was the
Okay.
rub, that we wanted to go into non-public because we knew it was only one person was gonna bid, and we didn't wanna let the cat out of the bag
Right.
in case we had a 2-to-1 vote and had to go out to bid. Well,
Okay.
we let the cat out of the bag.
Okay.
And maybe Waste held their price. I don't know. I haven't seen the bid and I haven't seen the response.
So you brought it here, and you said, we did all this work to negotiate this thing, can we please just sign it and not go out through a formal bid process for fear that we'll lose this great deal?
Right.
It wasn't quite that easy. We discussed having a 3-0 vote in favor of bypassing the bid.
Right.
Yes, but it wasn't just slipped through.
And you couldn't get your 3 votes, so it was set aside.
That's correct.
When you took that vote, you weren't saying that you would not accept Waste Management's bid. All you were saying is that
We
you
couldn't
weren't, you
accept
could,
it.
you didn't want to bypass the bid process.
Right.
So now, and by
That was her
doing,
point.
by doing that, the perception, at least I got as a member of the public, was now it's going out to bid.
Yes.
That's the perception I had. So they went out, and apparently that was your perception, or
Correct.
Bob's, or whoever actually. So it went out to bid. The bids were due February 20th. So now you're talking about an entirely different thing. You now have the option to accept whoever bid on it by February 20th.
I haven't
And if
seen any
I'm-
bids.
If I'm understanding Howie correctly, he's saying that Waste Management is still willing to do that for the next 19 months deal, in addition to a better contract when this one expires. So why wouldn't you
Well,
look
we're
it
all in
over
favor of
and,
it, but today,
and do
Melissa
it?
is the first that we've seen that went out for bid.
I didn't know it
Okay.
had gone out to bid.
Nobody knew it went out to
And I haven't
bid.
seen any bids come in.
It's the
Haven't
only
seen
bid
it.
we have is the one we had.
I
Well,
don't
that's
see
that
it.
one.
Where is
You
it?
haven't, then if that's the only one you had, we haven't, now that they know they're the only bidder, you haven't been back out to find out whether they're gonna hold the price or not.
Oh, they are, and I'll bring
You
that
just
bid
said,
to
you
you.
just said the only bid you have was the first one. You just said that.
That's exactly true.
But it sounds
Right.
like they've had a conversation to say, is this bid still good? Is this your only bid you're going to submit, and is this still good? And it is. So it sounds like now you're free to award the contract to Waste Management if you choose to, and save the county some money.
Well, we will if we can.
I just want to make sure because I was getting confused
I
by
didn't,
the
well, I am
conversation.
too. As far as I know, I haven't seen any bids. So, until we see a bid, until we see the RFP that went out, where it went, then we can take action on the bid.
I'll get that for you for next week.
And if there was other companies involved in it, did they send a letter saying we can't bid on it or we're not interested?
There was absolutely no other response.
No other response, but you got where it was put out for bid in the
It
papers.
was in the paper. Commissioner Babson and Bob had spoken to the other potential ones beforehand,
Yes.
and it just,
They said they
it
didn't
just
want 'em.
wasn't between the,
Okay.
using our compactor and the recycling component, it wasn't of interest to them.
Okay.
And the other ones from further away, the transportation fee cost more than what it would save.
All right. Bring in the bid next week and we'll vote on it.
We'll do that.
If it went through the bidding process, then we're okay.
And we can get out of the contract we're in, or they'll let us overlap the two, and we can save $200 a month. Let's go for it.
Yeah, good deal. Let me go back and see how.
Thank you, Melissa, for straightening that out.
That was a good summary. I appreciate that.
And sometimes I just have to do that to get my head straight, so, thanks.
Let me see if we have a union negotiated decision.
Okay. I guess we could, if he's got a money figure, I guess we could accept that. But we can't accept the union contract. If there's a description or rewriting of the contract and taking stuff out or adding stuff, we can't accept it. Do we
This is
see
my
it?
first go-around with a union contract. I would have thought we'd had to look at the whole thing and the money and what do you call them? The event, what do they call that?
Oh, the,
What do they call it when that, not the event, the,
You can accept
the,
you can accept a tentative agreement.
they have up to 7 or 8 of them. What do you call them?
not an event,
So I have the
Episode.
documents.
Yeah, episode.
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 I have the documents
Okay, all
from
right,
the.
wait a minute. So what's your point?
my point is, I would think that we had to approve the whole thing, not just the money. That we look at it and see, the episode portion that there was changed, and there's a couple other changes, but I don't agree that we just vote on the money part of it. We gotta vote on the whole package, don't we?
The delegation only votes on the bottom line of the contract.
Right. And we vote on the
We
whole.
vote on the whole contract.
I understood you to say we could vote just on the money and then look at the other stuff later.
I'd like to see to get it through for Monday.
Oh,
There you go. So I
You got
have.
extra copies?
Yep, yeah, that, one for you and one for him. That is about the company, what I was talking about. They are $3,000 a year. And I believe Commissioner Babson was talking about the email about this. I'm not sure. I sent it to him, so he has it. And the office told me that Mrs. Seamus put in a 91A request. And I'm not sure if you're talking about the same email. Oh, she has one? I just let me know.
I got this one.
Is that the email what you were talking about?
I guess so, yes, I got this
Oh,
one.
okay.
This is the one you were describing, someone had used all 900 minutes on their personal phone calls on our business phone. There was no name or anything as usual.
Yeah. Was this just an estimate? Do we have something that
This
shows that they
was-
used it 900 minutes?
This was from somebody else. That was from a taxpayer, she told me what's happening, what I need to check into, if they're using the cell phones.
Would they
And
know? Would they know?
yes, something happened somewhere else. And
How did
also,
somebody- Excuse me, go ahead.
and also, There was a 91A filed in a town, by the town administrator, and they got all her cell phone records. Anything what is paid, every phone by taxpayers' money is subjected to 91A.
I don't think-
They have to give the records.
You all done?
Yep.
Go ahead.
I don't think, Commissioner Kenney, I don't think anybody's questioning your right to look at the minutes, but to come looking, first of all, it appears that you've once again singled out our HR person because she's the only one whose record you've looked at. You come in here with supposedly a taxpayer saying she spent all 900 minutes of her phone on private phone calls. Well, I know I've talked to her a couple of times on business on her private phone, so I know it wasn't all 900 minutes. And this is just another accusation with absolutely no proof.
Commissioner Babson, did you read this good? That
What?
I've been told this was an instance, this was not about her.
Well, then why are you asking for her cell phone minutes?
This was an instance from somebody else. They say the taxpayers is paying for it. When they went to check it, the person made only personal calls and never used it actually for what they should be using it for.
But
Why did you want our HR person's cell phone minutes then?
It is subject to 91A, and I want to see if it's also feasible. How many minutes she's using? Do we really need to give the HR a cell phone? The previous HR directors didn't have a cell phone. And also talking to other commissioners about these issues, they were all wondering why in a probation period did anyone and an HR director demanded a cell phone. It was a little weird and strange.
Can you give us the name of one commissioner that you talked to?
No, I'm not giving
As
the name
usual,
of any
no?
commissioner that I'm
Okay,
talking
let the
with.
record show that Commissioner Kenney once again makes an accusation
I
and won't
don't
give us
make an
any information.
accusation.
Okay.
So this is not about her, this is the instance. And the other document, what I copy up, was about the company, what we were talking about, that jail issue, about the learning company. This company is $3,000 a year.
Do you have any other information other than just a price list, what they're gonna give us, what comes with it?
Yes.
Or are we
it
just
is
looking at
the-
prices these days?
Oh, no, the prices, I actually look at the library, the stuff what they're giving. You can go online on the web and you see everything, what they have. I've compared it to the other one, what we have, it is similar. And only they are much cheaper, they are $3,000 a year. And you don't have to go with a 7-year contract and the price is already cheaper. And the implementation fee is a one-time fee, is $500, and I believe the other company is $2,500 implementation fee. And it is $4,800 yearly fee, and this company is $3,000.
All right, I think we need to,
Wait for the jail.
we have to
come
wait
in.
for the jail now because they had it ready and we held them up. Now you've got it ready, now we gotta hold
Well,
you
I
up so
had
the
it-
two of you can be here at the
Right.
same time
I-
to discuss the issue,
I had
okay?
it a couple weeks ago, but then I was said, we need to wait for the
Well-
jail. And then the jail came in and I didn't,
All right,
hand
that's what
information.
happened, so let's hold that up, and next week, bring that with you. We'll ask the jail when they come in, the superintendent, to bring his copy, and then we'll get it straightened, okay? Okay. Got anything else in the work session?
Just a report, 2 reports.
Go ahead.
Last night, we had the monthly advisory meeting for the cooperative extension. The suggestion was made by me that they send a letter at least quarterly to the delegation, informing the delegation that they're interested in moving down here. They still have the interest, and just so that the delegation can't say, well, they haven't told us they want to be here. There'll be no mistake, they'll get one every quarter saying that they will.
Regarding that move, what we really need is somebody to step up to the plate put together a package as to what their rental figure, somewhere around 30,000.
Excuse me, Dave, you're right. One of the things that they said they'd do for me last night was have the cooperative extension finance person call me so that we can figure out what 20 years of rent would work out as in a bond payment for the county.
Right, but we need somebody to do that. And you talking about the finance,
The fellow that does the bonding for the university.
for the university?
So we'll have that information hopefully.
But somebody has to put the package together to come up with that. Somebody has to.
What else do
take
we have
the-
to know? What, 20 years times the?
Well, somebody has
roughly
to
the
do
amount
it.
of-
Somebody has to do it.
I'm gonna do it.
You're gonna do it.
Yeah, he's gonna call
Oh.
me and I'm gonna do it.
Oh, okay, I didn't hear you say that.
No.
All right.
And the other thing is, Commissioner Kenney and I were down in Concord this morning for a clerk's bill, which if changed would make the county commissioner clerk responsible for maintaining the county minutes and responsible for taking
Control?
them.
Security?
Taking them, yeah. Secure.
Oh, for taking
For
them.
the taking them, so we don't have the problem of keep means, wait, watch the safe and make sure nobody steals it. The other part of that bill is, we changed, or the bill changed the wording from safe to secure location, so that if a county decides to go to the clouds, that would be, and it's secure, that it would be perfectly proper to use that, and we won't need the Wells Fargo days of a big steel safe in our office.
Okay.
That's my reports, and I'm sorry I didn't give them to you earlier, we get sidetracked.
Okay, do you have anything to report?
Yes, I have a question for Commissioner Babson. You mentioned every time you're here Thursday and Friday, you're signing checks, you're putting on your signature. You sign like 40, 50 times, you said. When I was elected, we had every week the checks were done at Wednesday, so after the meeting, all the commissioners could sign. There was never an issue. Any commissioner or two commissioners who could state and sign the checks, and you said you're the only one that's signing it and do it 40 or 50 times. Looking at every time what you sign, you don't really physically sign. You stamped all those checks, correct? Your
Yeah.
stamp is on all those checks.
I
not your
didn't destroy
signature.
my stamp, I kept it.
Okay, not your signature, your stamp is there, so I don't know if you physically hear what, but your stamp is on all of them. So if you brought it up several times that Commissioner Kenney, you're not here because you signed it on Thursday or Friday. So I'm not here, correct. But if you bring that up, you say that Commissioner Sorensen is also not here. So the second one is also a stamp of Commissioner Sorensen, correct?
The second one is what? The stamp of
You brought
commission-
in several times and you said Commissioner Kenney is not signing the checks. Only Commissioner Babson. You're coming on Thursday or Friday.
Yep.
But if you say that, that also means that Commissioner Sorensen is not signing those checks. His stamps are on all those checks, correct?
Correct.
Because you always singled me out. It's always Commissioner Kenney. Every
No,
week
that's-
you're
No,
coming
no, no,
always
no, no,
after
no.
Commissioner
That's-
Kenney.
No, that's not.
Everything
Now-
is
now you
Commissioner
have to-
Kenney, Commissioner Kenney, Commissioner Kenney.
No,
Man.
So if you bring that up, you said you are the only one that signed it. I think it's fair to say that you say both commissioners are not signing it. But you brought it up several times, Commissioner Kenney is not signing the checks, and you were the only one that signed it.
Let me
So
speak
if
now.
you look at it, we have two stamps on those checks.
Let me speak first, and that is, the issue that came up was you were not signing some of them and wouldn't give a reason why you weren't signing them. Is that correct?
That is not all correct, Commissioner Sorensen. I'm here several years, and always certain checks I don't sign. I
Why?
don't have to sign certain checks if I don't agree with it or if I don't approve with it. I really don't have to sign it. And you know that. You need two commissioners. In the past, it was never really an issue. If I don't support certain items, I don't sign it.
And you wouldn't sign it, you wouldn't sign the recording secretary for the county delegation? correct?
Probably.
Yes.
Was it a check?
After they approved it? Are you going against the wording of the delegation?
If I don't agree with a check, then I will not sign it. No.
Even if the delegation approved it?
If I don't agree with an amount, I don't sign it. No more comments, that's it.
Okay. Your turn?
No more comments, that's it.
Okay. Oh, boy.
Can I just ask a question?
Yes.
Seeing that she brought that up, my question is, you're saying that only one person is stamping that check, but there's two stamps, so is he putting both stamps on that check?
Okay,
Yes.
so that-
Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
What happens, ma'am, is the treasurer comes in usually on Wednesday. and-
Friday.
Tuesday.
and-
Right.
Well, whatever day.
Whatever.
Wednesday
Whatever
or
day,
Thursday.
okay.
He comes in, his signature has to be on all the checks in writing.
Right.
The other two can be done by stamp. I use a stamp. Commissioner Kenney doesn't use a stamp when she does it, and Commissioner Sorensen, his signature is with a stamp also. So there are,
Okay, I understand that. My question is, if Sorensen is not here to use that stamp, how is it getting?
I authorized it to be used.
That's what I'm at, that's my
Yeah.
question.
I authorize it to be used after he has checked all the bills,
Okay,
all the invoices that need to be signed, or the checks that need to be signed. They don't use my stamp until he does it, till the treasurer also looks at it. So there's two right there.
the treasurer
Mine
actually.
is a third.
Right, the treasurer actually is the one that has to sign.
Yeah.
yes.
Okay?
But that was my question. It was like, all right, how come there's?
If the
two
checks
stamps
are
on one
ready,
person?
if the checks are ready, I always sign them. I don't use a stamp. When it's stamped, that's because after he has signed them. Okay? And he uses his stamp rather than signing them, but he looks through and reviews all of the bills. And if he has questions on some of them, he will bring that attention to the two of us before we sign them. Okay?
That was my question.
Thank you.
I just want to add something. In 2011 and 12, most of the time the checks were ready. And if they were not ready, I wait till the afternoon, and it was ready, to sign it, and the next day, the treasurer is coming. Now I see in 2013, and now, most of the time, the checks are not ready.
And the problem
Sometimes
is,
I wait till in the afternoon and said, no, it is not ready.
So
But
who-
11 and 12, it was ready.
and the problem is that the secretary, who the secretary that makes out the checks,
It's payable.
is the payable, is overworked.
Overworked, underpaid.
Overworked and underpaid. You're correct. But mostly it's she's overworked, and so she can't get the stuff ready, and it doesn't go out until Thursday or Friday anyway.
Well, maybe she needs a helper.
What's that?
Maybe she needs a helper.
That's what we're trying to convince the delegation.
Yeah, yeah. We really do. Go ahead,
Do you
John.
think the process that you just explained should be a documented statement for public?
Yeah.
So others could, refer to it and say, oh, this is the check signing procedure that they use?
I'm not sure what your first,
I didn't
Well, you
understand
just have
your
to go
question.
through a whole spiel to explain
yeah,
your signature process with
Yep.
checks.
yep.
But, it ends here. It's not available to somebody else that may have that question.
Anybody,
My
John?
point is, should it be documented as to
Okay.
your specific process for public viewing?
Go ahead.
John, part of the problem is that the checks are not ready every week at the same
Oh, I
time.
understand that.
Anybody that wants to come in, I'll invite anybody to come in and help me
No,
look,
it's
sign
not a
the
question
checks,
of-
look them over. But I'm not gonna, I spend enough time here, I'm not gonna tie myself down to 2 o'clock Thursday afternoon to sign checks every week.
No,
It's a three-person job, I'm the one that does it most of the time, longhand, with the stamp,
All
and
I'm
comes in,
saying
goes
is
the
that
bills.
people on the street may not know
Yeah.
your specific procedure and why you do this or why you don't. That's all I'm saying.
All right. As Commissioner Babson said, the treasurer signs all checks. And he normally is the second signature on that check, Commissioner Babson.
Right.
Okay.
I'm just saying, that what you explained,
Yep.
should it be documented and like on the website for
Mhm.
public use, that's all.
Yep.
Just real simple.
Yep. But we do have a problem in our office. She's putting in overtime, and she doesn't get overtime pay. And that's illegal, so we're restricting it to 40 hours. And we've told her many times, 40 hours, that's it. And I thought about it last night, because we had to talk about it Monday. And I think we've got to come up with a policy where she signs it, that she only works 40 hours. Any hours after that, she doesn't get paid for, that's illegal.
It was
Okay.
my understanding that sometimes she works a few hours extra, but I think it was the next day or the next week she come also a couple hours later in. That
In
was
some cases,
that was
that's
my
true.
understanding.
Some cases, that's true,
It
but
was makeup hours.
that could be, it could get out of hand. The job description calls for 40 hours a week. All right.
She does an excellent job. You go over the checks.
She got a question. No, go ahead, you go.
Are
She
you in
has saved
public
us a lot of money.
Are you in public comment, or where are we?
No, we're not.
Well, we ought to be, because we're done with everything
We
else.
already had public input. So we need to add non-public at the agenda because I believe she mentioned that she
Yeah,
had two
but
issues
first,
or
Howie,
something.
you've got something to report to us?
Yeah, just an update on that union part that you wanted. I have a copy of what the union actually voted on today. But they voted it down.
They voted the contract down?
They did, these contract amendments down.
Amendments?
This is literally what they were given. My understanding is that the county council, Tom Clausen, conveyed this to the union rep, conveyed it to our union officers.
No, I
Real sorry.
And that they just wrapped up the second shift billing.
And they added up the 3 shifts, and the vote was negative.
65-5.
65-5?
It was unequivocal.
Okay. That's too bad, but that's the way it goes.
And that's all there is.
Oh,
But as I look through this, I don't think there's anything that's different than what had been discussed or reviewed before. I think there are some things that have been taken out, but there's nothing, no changes in this that were added.
So does this mean, Howie, that 40 cents was voted down also?
Well, it means that, they can't pick and choose, so that at this point, it either goes through further negotiation, mediation, or arbitration. I think the next logical step would be further negotiation. The complicating fact is, if it's negotiated after the budget's approved, it becomes a funding issue.
Why doesn't the 40 cents an hour, oh, there, I'm sorry, it does, number 7.
Number 7.
I skipped over it, I'm sorry.
And so that if it's subsequently negotiated, and I have to believe, and it's my feeling, and it's only one person's feeling, is that in general, that the 65-5 doesn't represent, I think there's misunderstanding and concern about some of the non-dollar issues, specifically some of the changes, that if there were time to be explained and documented would alleviate a lot of the concern. Quite frankly, what I was hearing when I was over there is that they felt anytime you have to make a decision that's rushed, you get immediately suspicious. And they were immediately suspicious of why. And it's easy to vote no. When you're not sure, we all retreat to the no.
You know something, Howie? We started this way back in September of last year. They could have negotiated a contract, had it all done by the 1st of December. We could have had it in the county commissioner's budget, and we would have been done with it. People drag their feet. I'm sorry, but, you know, where do you set the time limit as to negotiations? To me, starting in September, they had September, October, and November, 3 months to negotiate a contract, and nothing happened, apparently. Or maybe they maybe they talked about it, but didn't come to a conclusion, and it kept going on and on. I guess we can't support it if they don't support it, so.
Now, from a practical perspective, it does leave open the door with the delegation of whether or not the commissioners would want to request a contingent appropriation.
Can't do that. If we ask for a certain amount of money from the delegation to go towards a union contract, we're giving up our hand to the employees.
But I think everybody knows that hand at this point.
They do.
It's right in the amendment. So at this point, everybody knows the commissioners are looking at 40 cents an hour. And quite frankly, in my bias, I don't think that was the stalling point in the vote. That's speculation on my part. So I think they know that. So that, well, and given that everybody does know that, if you got an appropriation for that amount, well, at least you would be able to do that much. And I think they understand and know that you're very serious about that being the best that can be done, given the economic constraints the county has. Because otherwise, if it gets settled in June, but is unfunded, then it's a more complicated matter. Now, whether or not I certainly can't say that the delegation is ready or willing to fund it.
Well, I guess we can review this, but since they didn't approve it, we're back to negotiations and square one, and I wish them luck in getting it approved through the delegation. I've heard from members of the delegation that they may not get a contract. It happened once before where the sheriff's department didn't get a contract, and because they didn't get a contract, they've never been able to catch up. I feel it's too bad that they didn't have a contract, but that was their decision, so thank you for bringing that in.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now where are we?
Work session and then the non-public.
You got any more for work session? You have anything for work session anymore?
No, I don't think
No? Okay, then we'll open it up for non-public. For public, sorry. Any input from public? Go ahead.
If I may, I would like to say something.
You'd like to what?
I would like to say something if I may.
Come on up where we can hear you better. Thank you.
I just want for the public to know that there is no inappropriate use of my cell phone. But then for the employees, I want them to know that what I was upset about with Commissioner Kenney getting the phone numbers that went along with my phone. I have no problem with you looking at how many minutes are used or anything like that. I have an issue with the numbers because the HR director's position is that of a very confidential, and it needs to be trusted by the employees. And that is what my concern was, is that you had the listing of all of the phone numbers that I had used my county paid for cell phone, and you had all those numbers, which could violate some of that confidentiality. That was my concern. So for the employees to know that I uphold the trust and the confidentiality that they have put in me, that you have put in me by hiring me as the HR director, and that you singled only my phone out is what kind of concerned me. but that you had all those numbers. I would give you all of the minutes. I would give you my phone and say, here's all the numbers I call. Or if a vote by the board to review all those numbers, I would have been fine with that. Because if the board was to review those numbers and then to give me the numbers back so that people don't have those numbers that I'm calling, because they could be confidential phone calls. That is my only concern, because I do not want the employees to lose any trust in the position of the HR director here. I do not use that phone at all for any unnecessary or inappropriate reasons. It is used for county business. If I'm on the road, if I'm at a meeting, if I need to make a phone call, or if I need to talk to someone at the corrections department at 11 o'clock at night, that's what I use. I just need to say that, but I would appreciate if the commissioners would have the business office remove that $2 a month charge from my phone that now Commissioner Kenney has requested to be on there so she can see the minutes and the numbers that I call. Because number one, in my budget, I did not put that as approved by me in my budget for an expense. I put exactly what the phone line costs, because yes, it is my phone, but I asked for a county line. Because I believe totally that they should be separate, and I know we've had some discussion about this. It should be separate, because 91A, my phone could be subpoenaed. It could be under a disclosure type issue. And yes, they could have my phone, but I don't want it to be mixed with my personal, which is why I do carry two phones. I have a personal phone, and I do not use my county cell phone for personal items. Thank you for letting me state that for, number one, the taxpayers, but number two, for the employees who do watch these meetings, that you have entrusted me to be a confidential position for this county for the employees. Thank you.
And if I could make a comment, when we hired the HR director, that was exactly what we wanted to do, is to make sure that the HR department had credibility so that people that had an issue or a problem could go directly to that department, get the issue solved so that it doesn't have to come to us. And if she doesn't have any confidentiality with our employees, then we've got a problem. So that said, thank you for your comments. You're exactly right.
Yep, I'd like to make a comment.
Do you have a comment?
Yeah, of course. You're appointed, I get the oath of the office, and I am elected, and I represent 1/3 of county government.
Absolutely.
Every time I ask something, you said you have a vote. We don't need any vote to look into any public records.
Correct.
That is given to me when I was elected. So it is very inappropriate, and it is against the 91A. It's a violation what the commissioner did last week. We need to have a motion here on copying stuff. We need to have a motion here. You cannot see a record. It is a violation.
Are you doing an investigation?
What investigation?
Are you investigating her cell phone?
Why would I investigate a cell phone?
Well, that's what I want to know.
She's
Go after
talking
the
about
numbers.
conversations. I don't hear any conversations. There is nothing in it. You see only the minutes. There is no names on it. There is nothing. So I don't know what
Okay.
the big deal is. I don't know what the big issue is.
Okay.
You have all the phone numbers.
Commissioner
I
Babson.
don't have the conversations.
Commissioner
I
Babson's
don't know
got the
what
floor.
the issue is.
The issue
And
is,
if taxpayers are coming and file a 91A, I see when taxpayers file a 91A, they get all the information. It's the same as the sheets. And Commissioner Babson, I see you don't fill in any more non-public sheets. What happened with those? Why
Okay.
are you not
All right,
writing all the
all right,
non-public
all right,
sheets
okay.
anymore?
All right, he's got the floor, okay?
Yeah, no, because I was talking. How
Well, I
was he
just
has
shut
the
you
floor?
off. I just shut you off.
Why?
Because
I'm
he's gonna
talking.
have the floor, okay?
Oh, that is discrimination against Commissioner Kenney.
you're
I'm
changing-
talking and no.
You're changing.
Yes,
You're
what
changing the
changing?
issue.
What are you saying?
No, I'm just responding.
You're changing
to-
the issue. If
I'm
we
just
stay on that
responding.
issue
I
of
stayed
cell
on that
phones.
issue.
Commissioner Babson, you have the floor, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I don't think we've gone far enough. I'd like to make a motion that we don't give Verizon $2 so that they can hand out people's telephone numbers.
You make that a motion?
Yes.
I'll second it. Any further discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, nay.
Oppose.
Okay. Make sure that gets in the minutes. You had your comments. Go ahead, Melissa.
I've watched for the last 39 months Commissioner Kenney not understand what the issue is. And I would dare say that the issue is that she lacks the leadership skills incumbent upon her to perform the duties of a commissioner and has no employee relations skills. And we've watched it for 39 months, and I look forward to the next 9 months going by very swiftly. Thank you.
I would say we have the former employee, who was the former minute taker and non-public minute taker, and who is biased.
You want the
worked
floor?
for a biased
If you
paper
want
and
the floor,
make
you
his
have to
comments.
ask for it, just like
I
Commissioner
said I
Commissioner
would like to
Babson
make
does.
the comment.
Well, you can ask for the floor, okay? From now on, before you start to talk, you say, Mr. Chairman, could I say something?
Like I
Okay?
said, I'd like to make a
That's what he
comment.
does all the time, and I appreciate that. And I've been neglect in letting you get away with it. From now on, you ask for the floor, I will give you the floor, okay?
I just said I'd like to make a comment.
You asked the chairman if you can speak.
Yes, that is what I said. I'd like to make a
I
comment.
didn't hear chairman in
And
your
you
motion.
do like this. I said I'd like to make a comment.
You asked for the floor to make your comments, please. You want to make a comment right now? Go ahead.
I already made my comment that
Okay.
we have a bias.
All right, let's move on.
We have a bias.
Melissa, do
former
you have any
minute
other-
taker, public and non-public minute
Public
taker.
input?
Because I care deeply about the future of my county and the present status, I'd like to just change the subject away a bit from
Okay.
whatever's going on here right now. Last week, I believe it was, perhaps, there was some talk about attending a meeting where a representative from Merrimack County was speaking about elderly housing.
Yes, it was
Yes.
last week.
And you had had a little bit of a discussion about maybe that's an alternative to use money instead of the BEAS line, maybe having elderly housing
Right.
instead. I can't give you my only copy because I love this book, but it's called Communities and Consequences.
What is it?
I'll let you look at it.
Melissa,
Something in consequences, I know that.
Communities and Consequences.
Oh, that was published about 5 years ago.
Yes. I just, as someone who's following very closely the population trends and the effect that it's having on not just medical care in the county or, county budgets, but overall, I would suggest that you read this because in my personal opinion, the last thing we need is more elderly housing. So,
the last thing we need,
the last thing we need
is
in
more
this state is
elderly
more elderly
housing.
housing.
why do you say that? Because our elderly population is increasing.
Because we already have a lot of it, but we're not doing enough to encourage young families to stay here and to be able to afford to stay here and
Yeah.
to grow this state to a more economic power.
Yeah, I agree with that.
We're aging really fast, especially in Carroll County.
Yep.
And we're still going to have the same roads to maintain. We're still going to have to keep the same jails, the same nursing homes, the same schools. But all that expense is then going to be on the backs of the elderly population.
Yeah.
If we don't do something to bring
Right.
in,
Yeah.
to attract the youth to our communities, and building elderly housing doesn't do that. Looking at affordable housing for young families, that would do that as just one alternative. But this is a really good book on that subject if you're
Okay.
interested.
Commissioner Babson.
If I may speak to the critic. Melissa, what do you do with seniors we are going to increase our senior population 48% in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
The people who've been here, yes, a lot of them will probably croak in that amount of time, but what do you do with the ones that stay here?
I read some.
You're gonna have them go somewhere else and be the expense of somebody else?
just some of the statistics I've read have said that our is that the correct word? In migration? I'm not sure. People moving here, the biggest segment is the age 59 to 64 population.
I believe that.
They're coming from somewhere else already.
Mm-hmm.
But where the balance is shifting so that we're having an older population and the younger people aren't having as many children, and I know mine, they can't wait to move away.
Mine too.
Mine
Because
our way.
They're right.
Do.
I mean, we're losing them faster than we're,
Yeah.
so it's creating this really
That's what
difficult
happens, I
shift.
think, when you have a recreation, tourism type economy,
Right.
where a lot of the parents have to have 2 jobs or 3 jobs to survive. And that's too bad, but that's the nature. We have Mount Washington to the north and Lake Winnipesaukee to the south. And as long as we continue the tourism, and then we got these big box stores coming in besides, I don't know how the young people can afford to stay here. That's why they're leaving. I agree. If we can come up with, I don't know what it is, whether it's IT or something that's going to pay good wages to keep the young people here, I agree 100%. We need more young people. But nobody has come up with a solution to do that. Even the service category. I mean, as people get older, and I'm thinking about it myself, I need to hire somebody else to do the stuff that I used to be able to do. And if the young people are not here, then who am I going to get? Am I going to?
And we might save $5 million a year by having our own elderly housing complex. But in the long run, what does that really mean economically?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just asking you to look at the whole. I know you're trying to, that number's alarming because it just keeps growing and growing, but
Yep.
I'm just asking you to
And
look at the
her
bigger
first name is
picture.
Lori, but she's the director of the Merrimack County Nursing Home. She gave a presentation as
Good
to,
one.
what?
A really good one.
A good one, yeah. Where it wouldn't cost the county an awful lot of money, but it'd be using up that DEAS money to provide this home for people that are taking that DEAS money. Instead of it going out where people, elderly, are going to other counties and other states, we're paying half their rate. Why not keep them here, create jobs? It was a good program. Whether it's feasible or not, I don't know, but she is presenting it to her commissioners, and I'm sure to the delegation in Merrimack County.
What is her role? What is her position at the?
She's the
Merrimack?
nursing home administrator.
Okay.
Yeah,
I believe I met her. I will try to touch base with her.
yeah. And she is not talking about something in Concord. She's talking about in a more rural area, to keep people in their areas as much as they can.
It's not a nursing home.
Right.
It's more like the Taylor home, where the people have their own individual, they have their own individual setting and they gather as a group. They have the social functions, which she said
Yeah.
was one of the most important, or the most important thing for a senior.
The gentleman that wrote this book, he was on the Sunday morning program for WMUR. I believe it was Sunday morning or Saturday morning. And just the one thing he said in the short segment that stuck with me was, stop building elderly housing. So
Interesting.
then I dug this out of a box and started to and I just wanted to share with you. If you haven't read this, it's a good book, and just.
Didn't he speak, am I incorrect, didn't he speak at the Lakes Region Planning Annual Dinner?
I think
one
so.
year?
Oh.
Yeah.
I think that's where I
Yeah.
got the book.
Yep. I think so. I think that's where I couldn't remember where I got it either, but that might be.
Okay. Anything else?
Yes, I'd like to bring up over the grant, what we've been talking about. I said it was RSA. There is.
You got the floor, go ahead.
I mentioned earlier that there is a RSA about grant money. RSA 3195B requires a public hearing for any money grant received over $5,000 before you may expend it. So there is a RSA on the book, any
Okay.
grant money received.
And that's before we spend it, right?
Yes, yes, you need
Okay.
to have a public hearing.
okay? Anything else to be brought up today,
I believe.
before we go into non-public? Seeing none, could you state the reason for non-public, Lynette?
Or 91A, A and E. Section A for personnel and E for litigation.
And for what?
Litigation,
Okay,
A and E.
all right, I'd make that motion. Do I hear a second?
Second? Oh,
Motion made and seconded. Now we have a roll call. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Babson,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen.
Yes.
Commissioner Kenney, yes.
We're now in non-public. Thank you for participating. Melissa, thank you for that information. I think it's always good to get people's input in different subjects. And I agree, if we can keep the young people here, great. But we got to find a solution to do that.